I travel from one world to another doing wholesale sales, and you call this the end of the world? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301 It's all your blame. What to do? What to do? What to do now? Liu Tingshan muttered, trying to calm himself down. According to this situation, in at most an hour, all the killers and assassins in Los Angeles will gather here. Although the manor has a complete security system, how long can it stop those lunatics? No one knows. As for calling the police? Don't be funny. How can the Los Angeles police compare with the security personnel of the manor? They are all retired Marines and have the best equipment. If they can't resist, it's useless for the police to come. Sir, I suggest you ask for help from the top management of the consortium. The housekeeper said a sentence with difficulty. As for whether the consortium will help? When will it help? Who knows? But it's better than doing nothing and waiting to die. Yes, yes, yes. Ask for help. Liu Tingshan reacted and hurriedly went to his pocket to find his mobile phone. Damn it, when his hand was empty, he remembered that he had thrown the phone. He hurried to the landline again. He finally dialed a number, but the line was busy. Liu Tingshan immediately changed the number, but it was still busy. Fuck you, Liu Tingshan almost smashed the landline again. In this way, he kept dialing 4 or 5 numbers, and finally one of them was connected. Bullshit, save me, save me. As soon as the call was connected, Liu Tingshan hurriedly asked for help. Shut up, Liu Tingshan, who did you offend? Liu Tingshan's immediate boss roared on the phone. He was just about to call Liu Tingshan, but he didn't expect that he would call him himself. Oh shit, what happened? The boss's fury made Liu Tingshan instantly forget the fear of death, and asked cautiously. Go online and check it yourself, you stupid pig, Liu Tingshan's boss said, and then hung up the phone. Liu Tingshan was confused and didn't know why his boss was so angry. Despite this, he quickly logged onto the internet. You don't know until you see it, and you will be shocked when you see it. On the internet, a lot of negative information about himself was exposed, and there was more negative news about the Feely group. Most of these things have been covered in dust for a long time. Now they are all exposed and made public, which immediately shocked the American people. For the American group, the complaints and anger of the people are not terrible. What is terrible is that other opposing groups will definitely take the opportunity to strike Feely with all their might, and even cause the change of the president. The consequences are unimaginable. Under the bombardment of negative news, the stocks of companies related to Liu Tingshan fell rapidly, including the Feely group. It can be predicted that today's U.S. stocks will inevitably be a bloody storm again. It's over. It's over, Liu Tingshan slumped in his chair. Dare to challenge the Feely group, it must be the power of a country. I didn't expect Su Wei to have such energy. Ding ding. At this time, the housekeeper's phone rang. After picking up the phone, the housekeeper's face changed color and became as pale as a dead person. Sir, my wife was attacked on the way back. Unfortunately, she was shot and killed. The housekeeper conveyed the phone message with difficulty. No, Liu Tingshan grabbed his hair and tore it madly. Congratulations, you will soon taste the pain of the company's bankruptcy, the tragic death of your family, and then being hunted endlessly. The words left by Su Wei before sounded like a spell in Liu Tingshan's mind. The Feely group is now in a state of panic. His company is bound to go bankrupt, his family has been tragically killed, now there is only endless hunting left, and more than a large number of killers are on the way. What Su Wei said actually came true one by one, and it came so quickly. Thinking that everything has vanished, Liu Tingshan almost collapsed. Sir, go to the safe house quickly. Don't you have a famous saying in Daksha, called, as long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no worries about firewood? I didn't expect that he and the housekeeper are Daksha experts. Let's go. Liu Tingshan, who was originally in great pain, instantly regained his composure, but there was only hatred in his eyes. He wants revenge. But the premise is that he has to survive to have a chance of revenge. Seeing that the master finally became rational for a while, the housekeeper couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. The safe house is a shelter built to cope with extreme conditions. It is dozens of meters underground and has sufficient food and fresh water. It is enough for a small number of people to live in it for a period of time and wait for rescue. Liu Tingshan chose to hide in the safe house when he was isolated and helpless. He defined himself as the fire of revenge, waiting for the storm to pass before launching crazy revenge on Su Wei. However, what he didn't know was that all the funds under his name were quietly transferred away by artificial intelligence, without a penny left. Including several hidden accounts, they were also found out by artificial intelligence. It can be said that Liu Tingshan is now a real pauper. Soon, he will become a lonely man. It is almost impossible to turn over. What's more, he is the one who tops the list on the Shadow Demon website, and the bonus amount is also the highest. It is difficult for him to survive like this. The new day in Los Angeles, USA, has just begun, and it has ushered in bloody winds. The instigator of all this, Su Wei, who was far away on the other side of the ocean, put away his mobile phone, rubbed his hands with satisfaction, stood up from the stone chair in the yard, and walked towards the inner courtyard with a brisk pace. Xiaohu, go wash your hands, dinner will be served soon. Seeing Su Wei coming in, Su's mother hurriedly stood up from the sofa and walked towards the kitchen. She had noticed that Su Wei had returned a long time ago, but seeing that Su Wei was busy, she did not disturb him. Okay, Mom, I'll help you, Su Wei said and rolled up his sleeves and went into the kitchen. Today, only Grandpa Su, Su's father, Su's mother and Su Wei had dinner together. The three of them had to drink a little. At this time, Su Wei remembered that the 2 boxes of special Maote liquor sent by Long Xianyu were still in Shangwen Feier's car. However, it is estimated that he can't find anyone now, so he can only wait and see. Anyway, there is no shortage of wine at home. In this way, the family had a happy dinner. After dinner, they chatted about family matters for a while. Finally, under the urging of Su's mother, he went to rest. Nothing happened at night. The next morning, Shangwen Feier came to pick up Su Wei to the airport. Xia Wei and Shangwen Weiner were also traveling with him. Unexpectedly, Su Wei had just returned and was about to leave again. So Xia Wei came to send him to the airport in person. Oh my god, Feier, where did you go last night? Did you steal? As soon as he got in the car, Su Wei saw Shangwen Feier, who looked like she had panda eyes, sitting in the passenger seat. Shangwen Weiner was driving today. Humph. It's all your fault. Shangwen Feier had a resentful look on her face. The air in the car suddenly became very quiet. Even Xia Wei couldn't help but look at Su Wei with strange eyes. This sentence contains a lot of information. Chapter 302 I thank you. What? You blame me? I stayed at home honestly last night, Su Wei explained quickly to prove his innocence. It was the strengthening potion you gave me. After I drank it last night, I stayed up all night and nothing happened. Tell me, are you kidding me? Shangwen Feier got angry when she mentioned this. Strengthening potion, sister, how can you eat alone? Shangwen Weiner on the side instantly lost her composure. Go away, it has no effect, it's all lie to children. Humph, Shangwen Feier pouted and said angrily. Xia Wei was slightly stunned, and immediately understood what was going on. Of course, she knew what the strengthening potion was, and she had drunk it herself. Oh my god, strengthening potion takes time to absorb? This process varies from person to person, and it can be long or short, but it won't be more than a month at most. Su Wei laughed when he heard it. This little girl is really honest. Huh? Then why didn't you say it earlier? Shangwen Feier immediately blushed. Who told you to kick me out of the car yesterday? Even if I wanted to tell you, I didn't have the chance. By the way, my wine is still in your car. Remember to send it back to me, Su Wei said calmly. Let me make it clear first, this is not intentional. Okay, you are really my boss. Shangwen Feier had a resigned expression on her face. How did I end up with such a boss? Xia Wei and Shangwen Weiner on the side couldn't help laughing. Sister, why do you always get embarrassed in front of him? Where's the momentum to scold me? Where is it hidden? Ha. Seeing her sister get embarrassed, the younger sister Shangwen Weiner was very happy. It was as if she saw herself being scolded by her. Well, it's very happy. Someone seems to not want her strengthening potion. Shangwen Feier took out a level 9 strengthening potion from the bag and played with it in her hand. Sister, I was wrong. Shangwen Weiner immediately changed her words. She was very familiar with admitting her mistakes. Huh, that's more like it. Shangwen Feier nodded with satisfaction. Hey, sister, can you give it to me now? Shangwen Weiner looked ahead with a flattering look. You're driving. Don't break it if you're clumsy. Let me keep it for you. With that, Shangwen Fair put the medicine back into the small bag. When it comes to discipline, her sister has a firm grasp on it. Thank you. Oh, Shangwen Weiner wanted to cry but had no tears. If she hadn't been driving, she would have definitely grabbed it. Looking at the sisters' funny behavior, Su Wei and Xia Wei couldn't help laughing. No matter how long the road is, it will end someday. The car finally arrived at the airport. After bidding farewell to Xia Wei, Su Wei quietly boarded a large private plane through the internal passage. After the plane took off smoothly, Xia Wei returned to Zuwei Industrial Park with the Shangwen sisters. Before leaving, Su Wei asked her to dress up as herself from time to time and show up in public. So, she had to prepare some things. On the plane, Su Wei turned on the tablet and checked the battle situation of artificial intelligence through the connection. First, Liu Tingshan's company was forced to go bankrupt in less than a day. Then the Feely Consortium held a press conference and pushed all the blame on Liu Tingshan. It was a beautiful sacrifice to save the general. At the same time, Liu Tingshan was severely held accountable, hoping to calm down the incident through such means. In this regard, Su Wei passed it by. Anyway, the war has been ignited, and it is not so easy to extinguish it. If Feely does not lose some flesh and blood this time, other consortiums will definitely not give up. It is very nice to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Finally, it is the killer organization Shadow Demon. A day has passed, and they still have not been able to regain control of the website, and finally chose to lie down. They even sent the organization's gold medal killer to Los Angeles to try their luck. Who wouldn't be jealous of the tens of billions of bonuses? Therefore, in one day, only Liu Tingshan, the housekeeper, etc. were left on the assassination mission list, and the missions of a few core members had not been completed. Even Liu Bowen's assassination mission was shown to be completed, and the bonus had been paid in full. This was of course deliberately arranged by Su Wei to announce to the world the news of Liu Bowen's death. As the huge bonuses were paid as scheduled, the killers became more crazy. Liu Tingshan, the top target, is still missing, like a treasure that makes people unforgettable. Los Angeles changed color for a while, and many strange characters poured in. It directly alarmed the U.S. authorities, and they immediately sent out the SHIELD troops to prevent any accidents. Fortunately, these people were only interested in making money and did not cause trouble. In addition, the Feely Consortium had already voluntarily abandoned Liu Tingshan's family, so SHIELD turned a blind eye. After all, the entire assassin world was crazy about it, and SHIELD was unwilling to easily provoke this group of lunatics. The news media defined the assassination as a terrorist attack and an act of revenge by the wronged. I hope that the impact of this incident can be diluted as soon as possible. So far, the whole thing has entered a perfect finale. Su Wei hopes that Liu Tingshan can hold on a little longer, otherwise the game will end too quickly, which is too boring. After dealing with the matters at hand, it was already lunchtime. The flight attendant brought a delicious lunch and a bottle of mass-produced red wine. After eating and drinking, Su Wei went to the lounge for a nap. After resting up, he could start working directly there. After more than 10 hours of flight, the plane finally landed on a newly built runway in Manila. Brother Wolf, as soon as Su Wei got off the plane, Chu Haoyan, who had been waiting here for a long time, immediately greeted him. When Su Wei got on the plane in Huatou City, he activated the illusion and turned into the appearance of an old wolf. Therefore, the crew members did not know Su Wei's true identity. Did you slack off in training? Su Wei punched Chu Haoyan's shoulder with his fist, and felt a little stronger. Of course not, I have completed the daily training tasks on time and in full. If you don't believe me, ask Lao Dong and the others, Chu Haoyan answered proudly. Chu Haoyan has changed since he followed Su Wei to the battlefield. He abandoned the manners of a rich young man and gained a more iron-blooded and resolute temperament. It can be seen that he is transforming into a qualified soldier. Of course, except when he is being stupid. Look, before Su Wei confirmed, this guy ran to the back and showed off his muscles to those beautiful stewardesses. Oh my god. This kid is hopeless. Su Wei couldn't help but cover his face. Shameful. Hey, Haozi, take them to the factory first, and notify them when they leave. Su Wei didn't have time to pay attention, so he could only shout to Chu Haoyan. Got it, Brother Wolf, I promised to arrange it properly. Chu Haoyan couldn't ask for it, and hurriedly asked someone to drive over and take the stewardesses and crew members to the Longji factory for rest. Chapter 303 Starlight. After arranging the crew, Su Wei waved to Dong Zhao and the other two standing by. Old Wolf, Dong Zhao and the other two immediately gathered around. Now they were Su Wei's men. "How is the construction of the factory going?" Su Wei extended his hand and gave the three people a few boxes of cigarettes, which were all special supplies given by Long Xianyu. At least they were high-end cigarettes that only major generals could smoke. He himself didn't smoke, so it was nice to share them. "The main structure is already 80% complete," Dong Zhao said with a happy face. "Oh my god, so fast," Su Wei was shocked. "How long has it been?" "Less than a month." "Well, it's pretty fast. We found Zhaiguang Wujin, which is known as an overseas infrastructure maniac. It only took 10 days to get the underground main structure out. In order to dig the mountain, they also specially transferred the largest shield machine in the country, so, the speed is like riding a rocket," Ma Qiang explained with a smile. "This can be called a miracle anywhere." "Zhaiguang Wujin, did you contact them, or did they contact you?" Su Wei asked thoughtfully after hearing this. Zhaiguang Wujin is an infrastructure team exported by the Great Xia Kingdom, and has won many international projects. It can be said to be well known. Su Wei expressed doubts that a little-known arsenal could hire Zhaiguang Wujin. Not to mention in a backward and remote area like Moninia. Not long after Mr. Chu issued the tender, Zhaiguang Wujin came directly to the door with a bid, based on the principle of good quality and low price. "We chose them. What's the matter? Old Wolf, is there any problem?" Dong Zhao saw Su Wei's suspicious look and asked. "Huh. It's okay, I just feel very honored." Su Wei smiled and shook his head. He roughly understood a little bit in his heart. This matter is probably related to Mr. Lei and others. "We think so too." Dong Zhao and the other two also laughed. As they spoke, they walked towards the arsenal under construction. Led by Dong Zhao and the other two, Su Wei visited the arsenal under construction. He did not reveal his identity, so Dong Zhao and the others did not introduce him. The people of Wujin thought he was a figure from Longji and did not care. Looking at the arsenal that had already taken shape, Su Wei felt full of pride. The design drawings came from the wasteland world, with reference to the Phoenix Nest base, and even reserved a huge space for the mecha room. After completion, with an automatic defense system with artificial intelligence, it will be a fortress that will never fall in modern times. This will also become Su Wei's greatest reliance in modern times. After visiting the arsenal, Su Wei and the others went to the Longji factory. The people recruited by Dong Zhao and the others were all trained there. When the arsenal is built, they can go to work directly and achieve seamless connection. At present, more than 300 people have been recruited and stationed in a spare warehouse behind the Longji factory. This team was established with the security personnel of the original Longji factory as the skeleton. The dozens of security personnel who had served in Longji for 2 years were relatively trustworthy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as I arrived at the door, I heard loud slogans coming from inside. They were all in Daxia language. When I walked into the gate, I saw a row of temporary barracks in the corner of the east wall, neat and tidy, with white walls and blue roofs, quite imposing. To the north is the shooting range, and to the west is the physical training ground. On a huge playground in the middle, 3 teams were practicing formations, with each team consisting of 100 people. The uniform camouflage training uniforms, neat steps, and loud slogans immediately made people feel excited. "Well, it's really good," Su Wei couldn't help but nod in praise. "At least, the spirit is there." After receiving Su Wei's praise, Dong Zhao and the other two were so happy that they couldn't stop smiling, and their hearts were as sweet as honey. "Old Wolf, should we also get a title or something? It's convenient to call," Dong Zhao suggested. "That makes sense, let's call it Xinghu," Su Wei said without hesitation. "From now on, the arsenal will be called Xinghu Weapons. The security team formed will be called the Xinghu Army." "Xinghu? Xinghu Army?" Dong Zhao asked. "Well, let's call it the Xinghu Army." Su Wei nodded and made the decision. "Very good," Ma Qiang and Hong Dania nodded in agreement. "Now that we have a name, all that's left is to do a few earth-shaking things to make the Xinghu Army famous." However, Su Wei came just for this matter. "Old Dong, there is a mission." Su Wei looked in the direction of the playground and suddenly said this. "What mission?" Dong Zhao asked solemnly when he heard this. "Go north and wipe out the Red Sleeves Army," Su Wei said directly. "This, Old Wolf, most of the Xinghu Army have only received less than a month of training. I'm afraid they are not yet able to participate in such a large-scale operation. Dong Zhao hesitated. After all, these people's training time was too short. It doesn't matter, I only need 100 people. Su Wei was even more determined to shock people. Dong Zhao and the other two were stunned. Even if the Red Sleeves army is just a remnant force, there are at least tens of thousands of people. With the newly joined mercenaries, their strength is immeasurable. Is it enough for you to bring 100 people? Don't worry, there are HX-1 power armors, which are enough, so, I only need 100 people who are loyal, brave and obedient enough, Su Wei said confidently. This, no problem. When they heard about power armor, Dong Zhao and the other two's eyes lit up. Although it was just a glimpse, the shocking appearance and domineering shape were unmistakable. With his own strength, he destroyed a top-secret laboratory of the U.S. military in Manila. This strength is really enough. Very good, once everyone is gathered, take them to the warehouse. Su Wei said, pointing to the large warehouse that had been converted into an indoor training ground. Yes. Dong Zhao couldn't help but stand at attention and salute. The next thing was relatively simple. On the plane, Su Wei placed 101-3 level strengthening potions in the lounge. After landing, he placed more than 100 sets of HX-1 power armor in the cargo hold at the bottom of the plane. Just send someone to transfer it quietly. Next, Su Wei spent 3 days strengthening the 100 selected Xinghu army. Su Wei did not intend to give them too high a strengthening level. Level 3 would be enough, so that they can quickly accept HX-1 power armor and have certain special operations capabilities. As for the future, we will see what happens. Dong Zhao, Ma Qiang, Hong Danyu, and Xu Haoyan were directly strengthened to level 6. During these 3 days, the selected people wore HX-1 power armor for training day and night, striving to get used to it as soon as possible and meet the actual combat requirements. Xu Haoyan finally got his wish and drove the HX-1 power armor. But this went on for 3 days, and he almost vomited. Alice, the road you choose, you have to finish it even if you cry or kneel low. Oh. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304 Malgisa. Everything is ready. 3 days later, on a night with no moon, 103 soldiers wearing HX-1 power armor quietly left the training base of Longji Factory. Under the action of thrusters, they flew to the north of Manila. They were Su Wei, Xu Haoyan and Ma Qiang, the 100 Stars army led by 3 people. Since HX-1 is a basic model, it only retains the ability to fly at low altitudes. It needs to avoid villages and pedestrians along the way, and the speed cannot reach the maximum, but it is much better than driving. At the same time, Su Wei used artificial intelligence to control the satellite above his head and block the image of the power armor. Now is not the time to show it. So, don't show it, after a night of rushing. At dawn, Su Wei and others came to a place called Margosa. This is the largest city in the north of Manila, nearly 1,000 kilometers away from Longji Factory. The Red Sleeves army had been driven out of here and fled to a place further north. But with the help of a large number of mercenaries, the Red Sleeves army reoccupied Margosa and set up the headquarters here, preparing to use it as a base to continue the southward invasion and annex the new government of Cadman. In the morning sun, 100 Stars army stopped on a grassland a few hundred meters away from the city of Malgisa, with no shelter around them. They were scattered and half-crouched on the ground, covered with a yellow camouflage cloth, and from a distance, they looked like a large stone on the grass. Not far away, there were 3 long stones. It was Su Wei and others who were lying there to explore the enemy situation. The power armor has its own reconnaissance camera, and the fortifications a few hundred meters away can be seen at a glance. On the position of the Red Sleeves army, many heavy weapons were found, as well as a large number of tanks and armored vehicles. No wonder, Cadman's new government army couldn't resist. Lacking anti-armor weapons, they were simply unable to resist the impact of tanks and armored vehicles. Old Wolf, how do we fight this battle? Ma Qiang asked Su Wei in a low voice. He was the best at learning Maninian among the 3 of Dong Zhao, so he was chosen to lead the carefully selected 100 Stars army this time. In fact, Su Wei had learned Maninian almost completely, and with the help of artificial intelligence, he could answer questions fluently. Chu Haoyan, on the other hand, was still at a half-baked level. The opponent has a lot of heavy weapons, Su Wei said thoughtfully. Although the HX-1 power armor has a more advanced alloy armor and will not be fatal in one blow, it is very likely to lose its combat effectiveness. This is the first show of HX-1, and Su Wei certainly does not want to see such a thing happen. Brother Wolf, why don't you just rush in directly? We can run that fast, don't you think? Chu Haoyan is full of confidence in the power armor. Stupid, no matter how fast you run, can you be faster than a shell? If he was not in hiding, Su Wei would have wanted to give this kid a brain blast. This is a disease, and it needs to be treated. Chu Haoyan could only smile awkwardly. He naturally couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be hid on the battlefield. Why don't we wait until nightfall and sneak in and launch a surprise attack? Ma Qiang suggested. For him, there were not many power armors, and losing one was a huge loss. Little did he know that Su Wei was just considering the issue of a first show without injury. Otherwise, 100 power armors would be enough to wipe out the Malgisa in front of him. That's not necessary. As long as we get rid of these heavy weapons first, there won't be much of a problem. Su Wei rejected Ma Qiang's suggestion. A sneak attack at night. This can't show the strength of the HX-1 power armor at all. Got it, Lao Ma, Haozi, you two take 50 people each and go around to both sides of the enemy's position. I'll attack from the front and attract their firepower, then you will kill from both sides. Remember, give priority to destroying heavy weapons and tanks, the rest are nothing to be afraid of. Su Wei immediately had an attack plan. With his reaction ability as a level 6 awakener, a sniper rifle couldn't hide him, let alone these bulky guys. With him attracting firepower, Chu Haoyan and Ma Qiang could lead the men to attack calmly. Old Wolf, are you sure? Ma Qiang asked with some concern. With more people, we can share some of the burden. Isn't it too risky to do it alone? Okay, Old Ma, trust Brother Wolf, it's right. Chu Haoyan was full of confidence in Su Wei unconditionally. Don't worry, I'm sure, let's start the action, Su Wei said confidently. Yes, Chu Haoyan and Ma Qiang immediately took the order. After speaking, the two of them slowly retreated backwards, and then each led 50 people and quietly detoured to the two sides of the Red Sleeve Army's position. It's deserved. The Red Sleeve Army not only received support from these mercenaries, but also received information support from satellites. Therefore, their vigilance against the surroundings was not very strong. However, Su Wei had artificial intelligence, which happened to block satellite monitoring. After a while, Su Wei received the information that the two were in place. Ready, Su Wei said while taking out the anti-material sniper rifle Barrett. At the same time, in the city of Margosa, a slightly bald and slightly fat Maninian officer got off a car and walked into the Red Sleeves Army's headquarters under the escort of the guards. He was Halipi, the new leader of the Red Sleeves Army. Sir, arriving at the door of the command room, the two guards guarding the door immediately saluted him. Yes, is Major General Karrason here? Halipi nodded to the guards and asked. Yes, sir, the guards answered immediately. Upon hearing this, Halipi quickly straightened his uniform, and then reached out and knocked on the door. Come in, soon, a slightly hoarse bass voice came from the room. Halipi took a deep breath, a smile appeared on his face, and he walked into the combat command room. I saw a white-skinned middle-aged man in camouflage combat uniform sitting on the sofa, and next to him was a white-skinned middle-aged man sitting on the sofa, wearing a straight suit, showing his nobleness. Major General Karrason, good morning. Hey, Mr. Franklin is here too. Hello. Halipi immediately greeted the two. Although he was nominally the leader of the Red Sleeves, in fact, it was Karrason who was in power and Franklin who controlled the finances. Halipi, how was the result of the persuasion to surrender in the Mayuka area? Karrason asked casually when he saw Halipi. Mayuka is another city not far from here, and it is also the next target of the Red Sleeves. Major General Karrason, they did not agree to surrender. Halipi looked ashamed. Today is the deadline. Have the people of Mayuka evacuated. Mayuka will be bombarded in the afternoon. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to leave, Karrason asked. His tone was flat and indifferent. No, they all said they would live and die with the new government army. General, don't pay attention to those untouchables. If they don't die a few, they don't know how powerful we are. Halipi looked like a traitor. Notifying them is just to report to the United Nations. I don't care about their life or death. Notify them immediately and prepare to attack Mayuka. Callerson looked at Halepi with contempt. Bang! At this moment, a unique gunshot sounded faintly. Boom! Then, there was a violent explosion. This time it was so loud that even the ground felt a slight vibration. Chapter 305 Debut. What's going on? Callerson was the first to react. He ran to the window and looked out. He saw a puff of black smoke rising from the position outside the city. Then, there was a dense sound of gunfire. Enemy attack, the new government forces of Menenia are coming, but why is there no satellite warning? Callerson was stunned for a moment. How could the enemy suddenly appear at his doorstep without a sound? Are those satellites blind? He really said this, the satellites were indeed blind. Soon, there was news from the front line. It was said that a humanoid armor holding a Barrett launched an attack on the Red Sleeve Army position. What? Fuck, come on, are you making a movie? Callerson was like an angry lion. He even made a humanoid armor. This is an African battlefield, not an alien battlefield. What the hell? Wait, Major General Callerson, our chance to rise to prominence has come. Franklin on the side jumped up with joy. Callerson didn't know, but he knew wow. Previously, the U.S. satellite had photographed a humanoid armor in Menenia. They tried their best to track it down, but then it seemed to have disappeared. I didn't expect it to suddenly appear here. If it can be captured and transported back to the United States, it will definitely be a great achievement. What do you mean? Callerson looked at Franklin with suspicion. Remember the new weapon I mentioned to you? Franklin said with a beaming face. This is really a case of searching for something without any effort. Is this what you were looking for? Callerson suddenly came to his senses. No wonder this cunning profiteer has been following the army and suffering here. It turns out that he has other intentions. Choked to death? Callerson, hurry up, don't let him run again, Franklin said and ran out of the door in a hurry. Mr. Franklin, wait, let me protect you. Halepi chased out with a dog-legged face. HMPH, I want to see what it is, come here, notify everyone to take their positions, Callerson said with a cold snort. The adjutant on the side immediately issued an order. Woohoo! Several military off-road vehicles roared out of the city of Maljusa and entered the defensive position of the Red Sleeves Army. The people in the car immediately saw an unforgettable scene. In front of the position, a humanoid armored car with a height of more than 2 meters rushed over in dense firepower. Small caliber bullets hit the armored car, just like tickling, splashing a little spark. And under its fast movement, large caliber artillery can't aim at all. Even if you force yourself to shoot, it will be dodged. The other party was holding a Barrett in his hand and could raise the gun and shoot while running. Bang! It was that special gunshot. Boom! The fuel tank of an armored vehicle was blown up at once, and the armored vehicle exploded on the spot, affecting a large area of the Red Sleeves Army around. In the blink of an eye, several armored vehicles in the front were blown up one by one. Yes, 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 that's it, that's it. Franklin in Halepi's car looked at the humanoid armor that moved like a rabbit in the hail of bullets, and couldn't help but get excited. He wished he could take it down right now. Mr. Franklin, be careful and safe. Seeing Franklin jump out of the car directly after opening the door, Halepi was shocked. But he could only bite the bullet and jump out of the car. Callerson, did you see it? Did you see it? Quick, order all the elite to attack. Leave this thing to me no matter what. Franklin rushed to a military off-road vehicle behind and shouted loudly to Callerson inside. Got it, Callerson replied impatiently. The performance of the humanoid armor was so eye-catching, and he was not blind, so how could he not see it? But because of this, he couldn't help but have a little hesitation in his heart. Can this thing be kept? If you can't win, can't you run away? At this moment, Su Wei was moving in a serpentine manner, with his reaction and the help of the power armor. His speed was lightning fast, and it was difficult to see his moving trajectory with the naked eye, let alone aiming. At this speed, even airplanes could not catch up, let alone people. I hope the speed is limited. Callerson prayed silently in his heart. Then he gave the order to attack with all his strength. The mercenaries hidden in the city of Maljusa rushed out immediately. The tanks hidden in the bunkers also started one after another, emitting billowing black smoke and rushed out. Boom! Several tanks opened fire first, and the shells flew towards the humanoid armor at a high speed. But none of them hit, and they were all left behind. Outflank! Outflank! Catch it for me! Catch it for me! Franklin was so excited that he couldn't help rubbing his hands. Karosin's face was solemn, and it was obvious that the target was extremely difficult. Sure enough, there is a backup plan for hiding. Su Wei in the power armor saw the tanks coming out of the hidden bunker, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. That's why he asked Chu Haoyan and Ma Kaiang to hold off the attack. If they don't lure out these heavy weapons hiding in the grass, they will be easily ambushed. It's almost done. Su Wei took a moment to think about it. They should be almost out. So he said to the communicator, "All troops attack." Got it. Attack. The voices of Chu Haoyan and Ma Kaiang were soon heard in the communicator. Then, a buzzing roar came from both sides of the position. The Xinghu army took off the camouflage cloth on their bodies, jumped up from the ground, and the thrusters on their backs were fully powered. They immediately rushed towards the Red Sleeve army's position like a sharp arrow. Oh my god, oh my god. How can there be so many? Mom, I want to go home. Seeing the enemy clearly. Whether it was the Red Sleeve army or the mercenaries, they were all scared to death. It was so hard to fight one by one, and now more than 100 of them rushed out at once. Is this going to make people live? Oh no, Karosin felt a chill all over his body in an instant. Tens of thousands of people were ambushed by 100 people. How can we reason with this? Seeing this, even Franklin couldn't help but change color on his face. Enough, 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 quickly withdraw, Karosin shouted loudly. Unfortunately, it was too late. Those tanks that rushed out did not even have time to rotate the turrets, and the humanoid armors that rushed up from both sides cut off the gun barrels with alloy swords. Suddenly, it was like a tiger without claws and teeth, and could only be slaughtered. But the humanoid armor only destroyed the tracks of the tanks, and then rushed to the next one. This made the soldiers inside the tank feel extremely fortunate. The 100 Stars army, like a tiger pouncing on a flock of sheep, violently dismantled those heavy weapons, tanks and armored vehicles. Seeing this scene, many soldiers immediately learned their lesson and directly abandoned their heavy weapons and fled. Anyway, the goal of these humanoid armors is only to destroy heavy weapons. As long as they don't touch those heavy weapons, they will not be directly attacked. Just like that, the defensive position carefully arranged by Karosin collapsed in an instant. Chapter 306 Surrender. Boom. In the melee, Halipi's car was hit by a bullet in the fuel tank and exploded instantly. Frightened, several people's scalps went numb, and they quickly hugged their heads and lay on the ground, not daring to move at all. It turned out that Su Wei discovered the existence of Halipi and others and rushed over here. Boom. Boom. One after another, military off-road vehicles were blown up. Halipi and others' faces changed drastically. Obviously, the other party was coming for them. But before several people could think of it, Su Wei led a team of Xinghu soldiers to surround them. Halipi's guards were useless at all. As soon as they raised their guns, they were hit by several electric currents and died. No, shoot, no, shoot, surrender, surrender, Halipi shouted loudly in fear. His voice immediately infected the surrounding Red Sleeves army, and one by one they stopped and threw the guns in their hands to the ground. In fact, it was useless to hold it. It couldn't break the defense at all. It was almost like a fire stick. Halipi, on behalf of the Maninian government, I sentence you to treason. Do you plead guilty? Su Wei held the barrett in one hand, pointing the gun directly at Halipi. A synthesized electronic sound rang out from the armor's speaker. Plead guilty. Plead guilty. I plead guilty. I said I didn't want to be one, but they insisted that I do it. Oh, Halipi was frightened and incoherent. People are so fragile when facing unconquerable fear. As soon as Su Wei raised his head, Chu Haoyan immediately stepped forward, took out a steel cable from the secret compartment of the leg armor, and tied Halipi up like a dumpling. Brother, what should we do with the rest? Chu Haoyan stretched out the alloy knife in his hand towards Franklin and Curson with ill intentions. No, 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 I am a serious American businessman, you can't kill me. Franklin's face turned pale in an instant. Although this is the home ground of the Red Sleeves army, and there are tens of thousands of Red Sleeves army and thousands of mercenaries outside, they are all blocked by the hundreds of humanoid armors and cannot attack at all. And now, he is just a piece of meat on the chopping board, and can only be slaughtered. A serious businessman, then please tell me, what business are you in? Su Wei said, deliberately lowering the mask on his helmet, revealing Paro's ordinary face and dark skin. In fact, when he fired the first shot, he asked the artificial intelligence to cancel the satellite shielding, so that the whole world could see this, the first battle of the HX-1 power armor. Hiss, Franklin and others couldn't help but gasp. I never thought that such a high-tech humanoid armor would be occupied by the indigenous people of Menenia. Isn't this a joke too big? Me, I'm an arms dealer. In the end, Franklin did not hide it and answered truthfully. Oh. So we're in the same business. My name is Paro, Menenia's official designated arms supplier. I've killed people with my starlight weapons. Let's learn more about him. Suwei introduced himself solemnly. You're Paro. Franklin and Kerosene were both surprised. Obviously, they were very curious about this legendary figure who had helped Cadman seize the Menenia regime. Oh, you know me, Suwei asked knowingly. Humph, if it weren't for you, the Red Sleeves army wouldn't have ended up like this. I just didn't expect that this time. It was still because of you, Kerosene said to Suwei with an unhappy face. Even if he lost the war, he was a foreigner, and Menenia had no right to execute him. Oh, who the hell are you? Suwei asked with a look of indifference. Fuck, Kerosene started to curse, but before he could finish, Chu Haoyan punched him in the chin. You know, he is wearing a power armor, which is equivalent to wearing iron brass knuckles on his hands. With just one blow, he beat Kerosene so hard that he vomited blood and his teeth were all over the ground. Seeing their superior being beaten, the mercenaries on the periphery were immediately angry. Some even wanted to rush forward. Bang! Suwei didn't even look at it, he raised his hand and shot. Instantly killed two mercenaries who wanted to rush forward, one through the chest and the other in the head. The huge power of the bear directly opened a hole as big as the head of the first mercenary, and the head of the second mercenary burst like a watermelon. Even the mercenaries who have been on the battlefield for a long time were stunned by this brutal and bloody scene. Puff, cough, cough, cough. The air was extremely quiet, as if only the sound of Kerosene vomiting blood and coughing was left. At this time, his head was buzzing, and he felt like he was hit by a car. Gudong, Mr. Paro, they're all foreigners, you? Franklin swallowed hard and reminded. He didn't expect that Suwei would dare to hurt and kill foreigners in this situation. What's wrong with foreigners? You don't stay honestly on my land of Menenia. You are messing around here and there all day long. Beating you up is still light. Suwei didn't give Franklin any face at all. He shouted at Kerosene. Franklin and the mercenaries looked angry but dared not speak. The strong prey on the weak. This is an eternal law. At this moment, whoever has the bigger fist and the harder fist is the boss. Catch them all, rebels. Kill without mercy. Seeing that everyone was scared, Suwei pointed at the group of mercenaries and said sternly. Crash. The mercenaries panicked immediately. They never thought in their lives that they would become prisoners here, and they couldn't help but clench their weapons. Resist as much as you can. In this way, we can kill all of you scum, Suwei said with a smile, but this smile made him look like a demon from hell. As he spoke, he raised his left hand. Except for the few Xinghu soldiers who were on guard, the others immediately raised their right arms, ejected high-frequency electric shotguns, and aimed at the mercenary team of more than 1,000 people. The power of high-frequency electric shotguns is obvious to everyone. At the least, it can paralyze, and at the worst, it can be reduced to ashes. Moreover, the defense of the humanoid armor is amazing, and it is not afraid of these conventional weapons in their hands at all. If they resist, it will be destined to be a one-sided massacre. Stop, Wong, put down your weapons, surrender secretly. At this time, Kerosene finally recovered, struggled to get up from the ground, and shouted loudly. It's just that his teeth have fallen out and there is some air leakage. Click. As he spoke, Kerosene took the lead, untied the pistol on his waist, and threw it on the ground. Once there was a first, there would be a second. The other mercenaries also dropped their weapons and reluctantly accepted this humiliating surrender. Chapter 307 Killing. Take more clear pictures. When the time comes, put it on the official website so that the people of Menenia can identify it. Anyone who is stained with the blood of civilians will be killed without mercy. Suwei had the mercenaries tied up while filming a video. Such an action naturally caused dissatisfaction among many mercenaries. Among them was a bald, bearded, white-skinned strong man. When it was his turn, he suddenly jumped up and made a savage collision, knocking a Starlight Army soldier staggering. At this time, a white-skinned man with curly hair and a hooked nose behind him jumped out of the gap like lightning, holding a sharp dagger in his hand, and attacked Suwei's face. Here, only Suwei opened his mask. At the same time, he was also the leader of this group of power-armored soldiers. Then, if he was captured or killed, things would change. Faced with this sudden assassination, Su Wei seemed to be scared and motionless, staring blankly at the dagger getting closer and closer to him. Not only that, none of the surrounding Starlight army came to rescue, as if they had given up. But at this moment, Su Wei suddenly smiled strangely. "No, don't." Karasen's whole body was instantly cold. This was a conspiracy. Unfortunately, his roar with all his might did not work at all. The white-skinned man with a hooked nose had already pounced in front of Su Wei, and the dagger in his hand stabbed towards Su Wei's neck without hesitation. Crack! At this moment, Su Wei moved his shoulder slightly, and the sharp dagger immediately missed the target and stabbed into the gap of the shoulder armor, and was stuck by the armor, unable to go in any further. Then Su Wei lowered his shoulder, and the sharp dagger immediately broke. The white-skinned man with a hooked nose changed his face, and kicked with a flying kick, trying to distance himself. Unfortunately, he picked the wrong opponent. Su Wei shook his body, avoided the flying kick, cut into the close body, grabbed the face of the hooked-nosed man with his left hand, and lifted him up in the air. The hard alloy finger dug into the flesh, causing the hooked-nosed man to scream in pain. All this happened in a flash. The mercenaries who wanted to resist didn't even have time to make a move before the hook-nosed man fell into Su Wei's hands. And he only used one hand in one move. Such a shocking scene stunned everyone. Strong. Too strong. It's completely on a different level. Did you take a picture? Su Wei ignored the surprised mercenaries and turned to look at the power armor sprayed with the number 2 mark. Its driver was Chu Haoyan. I took a picture, brother, very clear. Chu Haoyan did not use the internal communication, but chose to use the external speaker, so that everyone around could hear it clearly. That's good, Baji. As he said that, Su Wei suddenly exerted force with his left hand, and the entire head of the hook-nosed man was crushed. The bright red blood sprayed out like a burst of pulp, dyeing the ground under his feet red. Su Wei's sudden killing was shocking. These mercenaries are so bold that they dared to attack. Now, I declare them guilty of assassination. Immediate execution. Before everyone could come to their senses, Su Wei's cold voice sounded again. Know what Karasen was most worried about finally happened, but no matter how he screamed, it was useless. The Xinghu army directly turned on the slaughter mode. The high-frequency electric shotgun knocked down a group of people with one shot, and the teammates immediately rushed up to harvest the remaining blood with alloy swords. The mercenaries were also ruthless. They did not sit and wait for death. They picked up the weapons on the ground and fought back against the Xinghu army. But was it useful? Of course not. The bullets hit the armor with a clanging sound, but it was like tickling, and could not cause any damage. Moreover, after the power armor turned on the thruster, it was extremely fast. After a few shots, they were close. Either beheaded or cut in half. Bang! 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 Su Wei raised his gun and shot at the mercenaries who chose to flee. The Barrett bullets hit them instantly, either in the back or in the head, killing them. Chu Haoyan on the side also joined the sniping, and the roars of the 2 Barrett rifles resounded through the sky. It only took 7 or 8 minutes for all the mercenaries with more than 1,000 bodies to be beheaded. On the other hand, the Xinghu army, except for some wear and tear on the power armor and bullet marks, had no casualties. It was a miracle. You know, most of those mercenaries were retired soldiers from the United States. They had received systematic and rigorous training, and with several years of mercenary career, they had already experienced hundreds of battles. They were comparable to the elite in the regular army. However, they were killed by the Xinghu army of 100 people like killing chickens and dogs. This shock was beyond words. Many red sleeves were scared to death, so much so that many years later, when these people saw the HX power armor, they couldn't help trembling. Falkland couldn't help trembling slightly, and gritted his teeth to resist nausea brought by the strong smell of blood. This man is a demon crawling out of hell, and he must not be offended. Karasen was stunned for a long time before he came to his senses. Su Wei actually killed everyone, including those mercenaries who had surrendered. He really didn't spare any of them. They are all the hard work of the Empire. Just like that, the Empire's layout in Africa for more than 10 years is also ruined. You are a devil. If you have the guts, kill me too. Looking at the broken limbs and arms on the ground, Kakulu went crazy. Bang! Su Wei didn't waste any words and directly rewarded Karasen with a bullet. His head exploded instantly, and he couldn't die anymore. You all heard it. He asked me to kill him, so I killed him. I actually made such a request for the first time in my life, Su Wei said helplessly in the eyes of the people who were extremely shocked. Brother, this is the first time I have seen it too, Chu Haoan also followed with a knife. It's cool to follow Brother Wolf. You don't even need to find a reason to kill people. Shameless. It's really shameless. Everyone looked at the two people who wrote and performed their own play, and they held back such thoughts in their hearts. Although Franklin was angry, he bit his mouth tightly and didn't make a sound. Because he knew that even if he farted now, it would be his fault. It could become a reason for Su Wei to kill him. At this time, a large number of trucks, vans, and off-road vehicles rushed over from a distance. When I got closer, I saw that it was the new government army of Cadman. Although there were only a few thousand people, and they were all lightly armed. The Red Sleeves army here ran over to surrender crying. Damn it, why did you come just now? I was scared to death just now. Wow. Many people couldn't help but shed tears of happiness. Finally, we don't have to face those demons from hell anymore. Faced with the unprecedented surrender of the Red Sleeves army, the government troops who came to support were instantly stunned. It was not until the colonel who led the team saw the bodies of the mercenaries who were killed that he understood what was going on, because even he couldn't help vomiting. Chapter 308 Oath. At 10 o'clock in the morning, local time, Margosia was fully liberated. More than 30,000 main forces of the Red Sleeves army stationed here surrendered collectively without hesitation. Even without restraints, they were as obedient as sheep. Halepi was escorted to Mugaza as soon as possible, waiting for the trial of the new government. Also sent away was arms dealer Franklin, who finally did not let Su Wei find a reason to kill him on the spot. As an arms dealer, he did not directly participate in the war, so the final result should be to leave the country within a time limit. And he was added to the blacklist by Menenia, and he was not allowed to set foot on Menenia's territory in this life. At the same time, regardless of the time zone in the daytime or midnight, the heads of state of various countries were called to a meeting by their assistants. There was only one content, that is, the new declaration of independence of the new government of Menenia. Menenia completed the final unification, and there was no more Red Sleeves army. At the same time, Menenia released 3 important messages to the world through its official website. First, Menenia's sovereignty and territory are sacred and inviolable. Second, Menenia established an independent weapons research and development and manufacturing company Xinghu Weapons, and approved Xinghu Weapons to form the Xinghu Army for self-defense. Third, in order to cut off the source of war, from now on, Menenia prohibits all unofficial armed organizations or personnel from entering the country. If you have entered the country, please contact the local government army and leave the country within 72 hours. Otherwise, you will be severely sanctioned by the government army and the Xinghu Army. 2 of the 3 official messages mentioned Xinghu Weapons and the Xinghu Army, which is sending a signal to the world. Menenia wants to unite with Xinghu Weapons for self-government, and no one else has the right to interfere. This undoubtedly pushed the newly born Xinghu Weapons to the forefront. Countless people are curious about Xinghu Weapons. At this time, the video of the liberation of Margisa became popular on the internet. Although it has been edited, the strength of the HX-1 power armor is still suffocating across the screen. This makes people generally believe that it is a science fiction movie shot by Menenia for propaganda. Only the heads of major countries know that all this is true, without a trace of water in it. Because they got confirmation from the satellite images, which were more detailed than what was circulated on the internet. Take the United States, for example, an emergency meeting was held immediately. Also in the Octagon building of the United States, in that high-level conference room, President Kensden, Director of the Security Bureau John D., and Minister of Defense Ellison gathered together. Did they say that this thing is from Xia country? Why did it become the flagship product of Menenia Xinghu Weapons Company? President Kensden asked with a grim face as he looked at the summarized information. Now, the most concerned thing for the heads of any country is the HX-1 power armor. This, Mr. President, is a dereliction of duty. John D. looked ashamed. It was he who analyzed before that the power armor might be manufactured by the great Xia country and then tested in actual combat in Menenia. He never thought that it would come from the unfinished arsenal in Menenia. But one thing is certain, this weapon cannot be produced by Menenia itself, and someone must be using Menenia as a cover. John D. had to make excuses for his failure. Nonsense, anyone knows it. The key is who is the real mastermind behind the scenes. President Kensden couldn't help but point at John D.'s nose and curse. I still stick to my previous speculation, it should be the Great Xia Kingdom. John D. quickly replied. Outside, please give me some reasonable explanation, Kensden asked. Sir, according to intelligence, the factory being built for Xinghu is now being built by the famous Zhaiguang Wujian of Daxia. Our experts have carefully analyzed the images sent back by the satellite. Those power armors should be powered by electricity, so there is only one battery in the world that can meet their needs. That is the Electronics Super Energy Hydrogen Battery. In addition, in the Battle of Malgisa, the so-called Xinghu army suddenly appeared there. It was as if they appeared out of thin air. Our satellites didn't capture any information related to it before. Then there are only two possibilities. One is that these power armors have super technology for leapfrogging. The other is that they can interfere with and shield satellites. Relatively speaking, I prefer to believe the latter. Then the only countries that can do this without being noticed by us are Daxia and Daxian. To sum up, I think Daxia is the most likely. John D. immediately played the prepared information. Looking at it this way, it is not difficult to explain. Ding dong. At this time, President Kensden's mobile phone rang. He picked it up and looked at it, and his face suddenly became cold. The latest news, Daxia has signed a supply agreement with Xinghu weapons. By the end of this year, Xinghu will provide Daxia with the export version of the HX-1 power armor. The quantity is unknown. Kensden read out the message sent by his assistant in a cold voice. Hiss. John D. and Ellison couldn't help but take a breath. In the Battle of Malgisa, the HX-1 power armor has shown its terrifying fangs. With strong stealth, high mobility and amazing defense, its deterrence is much stronger than in actual combat. There was a silence in the conference room. The appearance of this news seemed to silently overturn John D.'s speculation. Or maybe, this is also a smokescreen released by Daxia? Where is our super soldier? Kensden asked helplessly. Other people's power armor has already participated in actual combat, while the U.S. power armor is still in the laboratory. Such a gap made him feel ashamed. They have always boasted of being a technological powerhouse, but now they can't even beat a backward small African country. They feel really humiliated. Mr. President, there's a problem here. Our super soldier may be stranded, Defense Minister Ellison said with difficulty. What? Didn't they say that the test was successful? Why is it not working now? The bad news came one after another, and Kensden asked angrily. Here's the thing. The laboratory used the super hydrogen battery of Zhaiguang Electronics before, and it did complete the prototype test of the super soldier, and the effect was very good. But not long ago, Liu Tingshan, Secretary General of the Philly Consortium, and Su Wei, Chairman of the Zhaiguang Group, had a conflict. The Zhaiguang Group terminated all cooperation with companies related to the United States. The intermediary company we commissioned to purchase super hydrogen batteries is also among them. So Ellison's voice disappeared as he spoke. He had been sanctioning others before, and now he secretly found someone to purchase their products on his behalf. As a result, he was discovered and directly cut off the supply. It's embarrassing enough to tell others about this. What? Without Zhaiguang Electronics super hydrogen battery, the super soldier cannot be mass-produced. Can this be called a successful test? Are you pigs? President Kensden roared at Ellison angrily. Chapter 309, Stormy. Facing the president's roar, Defense Minister Ellison was speechless. He was also deceived by the scientists in the laboratory. Okay? No, we must curb its development, eliminate Xinghu before it has a firm foothold, pull it out by the roots. After the roar, Kensden gradually calmed down. Anger can't solve the problem. Since hydrogen batteries can't be relied on, the only way is to win by surprise. Sir, Menino has banned mercenaries from entering the country, John D. kindly reminded on the side. Humph, there are not only mercenaries in the world as a kind of private armed forces, Kensden said with a sneer on his face. There is also a more despised existence, that is, terrorists. John D. and Ellison couldn't help but look at each other. Are you going to use those terrorists? This is a double-edged sword. If you don't use it well, you will hurt yourself. Minister John, this matter can't let us down again. If you can't eradicate that Paro and Xinghu, you'll be ready to go home and raise pigs. Kensden looked at John D. with indifference and said, Yes, Mr. President. John D. hurriedly stood up and answered. By the way, there is also Zhaiguang Electronics. It shouldn't exist, Kensden added. Yes, Your Excellency. John D. was stunned for a moment before he bit the bullet and agreed. Going to Daxia to carry out terrorist attacks? This is probably the craziest thing he has ever done in his life. Mr. Ellison, I think you should spur those scientists on. Don't just immerse yourself in the laboratory and database all day long, you should give them some pressure occasionally, otherwise, it's a waste of taxpayers' money." Kensden turned his head and looked at Ellison on the side. He said meaningfully, "Yes, Your Excellency, I'll convey your meaning right away." With that, Ellison and John D. both stood up and walked out of the meeting room. The reaction of the United States is just one of them. Many countries have listed Meninia as dangerous. After all, the emergence of HX-1 power armor is epoch-making and subversive. It is even more shocking than the hydrogen metal of Zhuhai electronics. Hydrogen metal is just a material, but power armor is a real war weapon. And it has already made its mark on the battlefield. Its performance is amazing to the world. With the news that Daksha released the cooperation with Xinghu weapons, its authenticity was further confirmed. However, the Xinghu army massacred thousands of mercenaries in Malgisa. Although there is evidence, it also gave the United States a big slap in the face. No one knows how the United States will retaliate. Most of the so-called mercenaries are from the U.S. Marine Corps. As for what purpose? Everyone knows the nature of the United States, but it has not been revealed. Therefore, some countries that want to cooperate with Xinghu have to wait and see. After all, not everyone has the strength and courage of Daksha. Su Wei doesn't care about this. The purpose of his debut of HX-1 is to deter, not to get more orders. To be honest, at present, except for Daksha, he has no idea of providing HX-1 to other countries. There is no need to want it, and the production capacity is insufficient. It must be equipped to the Xinghu army first. Su Wei also searched for some classic gun design drawings from the wasteland to enrich Xinghu's product structure. And these only exist in museums in the wasteland world, so it is not difficult to get them. It is worth mentioning that 3 days after the new government of Meninia issued a document, some mercenaries still refused to leave. They thought that Meninia was just strong on the outside but weak on the inside, and the new government had a lot of work to do, so how could it have time to take care of these trivial matters? They were even more skeptical about the legendary Xinghu army. Even if they were as awesome as in the video, it would be impossible to find them in such a large area. After all, most of Meninia is wilderness and uninhabited. If a few people hide in it, who can find them? However, they once again misjudged Su Wei's strength and the determination of the new government of Meninia. Just after the 72-hour deadline, 100 Xinghu soldiers came out in full force, in groups of 3, and dispersed across the vast land of Meninia. Within one day, hundreds of mercenaries who had not left the country were killed. Accurate, efficient, and brutal. Once this news came out, it was more effective than any warning. The remaining mercenaries fled to the border of Meninia like the wind, and they hated their parents for not giving them 2 more legs. So far, Meninia has changed from a paradise for mercenaries to a restricted area for mercenaries. This move naturally caused an uproar in the international community, and people believe that the new government of Meninia was too cruel. Mercenaries also want to make money to support their families, so why kill them all? However, today's Meninia is no longer the Meninia of the past. Immediately make public the data of Meninia's people who died in wars over the years, of which 70 to 80% died at the hands of mercenaries. Faced with this bloody report, who dares to speak up for the mercenaries? More importantly, Meninia is now backed by Xinghu, and its backbone has been replaced with alloys, which is very hard. Coupled with the support of Daksha, Meninia was in its prime for a while, and no one could match it. In this way, it also gained a transcendent status in the international community. This made several small countries around it envious, and they all proposed to the Meninia government that they also wanted to invite the Xinghu army to station there. They have also suffered from war for a long time. They don't ask for how well they can develop, but at least they don't have to suffer from the war anymore. This matter made Cadman feel very proud, so he immediately found Su Wei to discuss it. Su Wei also had the same idea, but the time is not yet ripe, and it needs to wait until the Xinghu army is further strengthened before it can be implemented. Su Wei stayed in the Longji factory for another 3 days, and waited until Chu Haoan, Dong Zhao, Ma Qiang, and Hong Dania were strengthened to level 8 before leaving. Before leaving, Su Wei used a level 9 strengthening potion for them. I hope they can break through as soon as possible to provide guarantee for the Xinghu weapons that are about to be completed. They took a large plane and flew back to Huidu City. Unexpectedly, it was Li Xiaoman who came to pick them up. "Hey, Xiaoman, why are you here?" Su Wei came out of the VIP channel and saw Li Xiaoman's figure. He ran over quickly. "What? It's not Sister Wei. Are you disappointed? Lee Xiaoman rolled his eyes at him unhappily. This strange expression, as if she had never cared about him. It's really infuriating. No. It's just that you work so hard on weekdays that you forget to eat and sleep. How come you have time to pick up a lazy person like me today? Su Wei smiled slightly and grabbed Lee Xiaoman's fair little hand. You still have self-awareness. Sister Wei had a meeting at the last minute, so she asked me to pick you up, Lee Xiaoman said with some resentment. Last time I came back, I didn't even see him. Today, Xia Wei asked her to pick me up at the airport, which was more or less a compensation. As they talked, the two walked out together. Chapter 310 Thunder Leopard. Today, Lee Xiaoman drove here by herself. Hey, Xiaoman, you got a new car? But what kind of car is this? Why haven't I seen it before? Arriving at the parking lot, Lee Xiaoman took Su Wei to a rose-red supercar. The shuttle-shaped body, diamond-shaped headlights, exaggerated air intakes, a sci-fi-style front face, and a special-shaped rear end. It looks like a mechanical leopard lying on the ground with its body lowered. The car logo is a mechanical leopard head with lightning in its mouth. My brother, this is Lei Bao? You built the car yourself, and you don't even recognize it? Lee Xiaoman looked at him with contempt. Such a boss is really unique. Lei Bao, is it this beautiful? Yeah, it's really good. Looking at the Lei Bao supercar whose appearance instantly kills international brands, Su Wei couldn't help but look embarrassed. No one told him this. No, I told him, but I just didn't look carefully, so the name and appearance don't match. This is the first batch of customized versions of Xinghe. Sister Wei asked for a violet, the double cream one is a beauty pink, and mine is rose red. As for yours, it's obsidian black. They have all been delivered to Yunshujian, Lee Xiaoman said as she opened the cool scissor door and sat in the co-pilot's seat. Su Wei sat in the driver's seat with a look of surprise. The simple operating panel exudes luxury in a low-key manner. The huge display screen can display the entire vehicle's condition. It is equipped with an automatic driving system, a safety system, and a global positioning anti-theft system. At the same time, there is a chassis lifting function, which makes the passability better and can adapt to most urban terrains. Needless to say, the power is using wasteland motor technology, and it is equipped with a dual motor group. It only takes 1.2 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers. The endurance is even more overwhelming, reaching 5,000 kilometers. After fastening the seat belt, Su Wei stepped on the accelerator, and the red customized version of Lei Bao immediately jumped out. Quiet as a virgin, moving like a rabbit. The smart and cool figure immediately attracted the attention of the few passers-by. Unfortunately, the speed was too fast, and I couldn't see what kind of car it was. It felt like a flash of lightning. Only the eyeballs were amazed. Not long after, a rose-red strange supercar became popular on the internet, and the omnipotent netizens quickly found the source. And found the answer on the official website of Spark Automobile. Recently, a special customized sports car of Lei Bao, a pure domestic electric car, has been in the limelight. It is called the Flame Rose. At the same time, there are 3 other special customized versions, namely the Violet Starry Sky, the Beautiful Woman Pink, and the Obsidian Black Future Warrior. The 4 sports cars are from the same lineage, but they are all unique. Unfortunately, these 4 Spark Virgos are limited editions, each of which is only made in the world, and they are all already owned. Although they can only envy, netizens are very excited. Unknowingly, domestic electric cars have become so awesome. As a result, more attention has been attracted by other models in the Spark Automobile Lei Bao series. Speaking of which, only 2 models of Lei Bao have been produced for the time being. An economical 3-box sedan and a medium-sized SUV. Both are electric cars with a standard appearance but good performance. The most important thing is that the range is more than 1,000 kilometers. The price is also very affordable, with each sedan priced at only about 170,000 yuan. The price of each SUV is about 220,000 yuan. Ordinary families can afford it, and the operating cost of electric vehicles is lower than that of gas vehicles, which is indeed the only economical choice. Some people will say that there are too few models, and it's a bit. No. Have you seen the 4 special customized versions? It shows that they are capable, but they haven't used their big moves yet. So, it has made Spark Automobile popular again. More people are paying attention to Spark Automobile, hoping to produce diversified models as soon as possible. Of course, these things are all later. At this moment, Su Wei and Li Xiaoman, who flapped their butterfly wings, had no idea that the search volume for Spark on the internet was rising like a rocket. On the highway, Su Wei drove the Flame Rose and had a lot of fun. This is more exciting than driving a Bugatti or Pagani. In addition to its superior performance, the most important thing is that it is his own brand. Just like his own child, he has grown up and exudes a dazzling light. As a father, he will naturally feel extremely comforted and proud. Of course, the premise is that he did not exceed the speed limit. Su Wei is a good citizen and will never cause trouble or congestion to the society. After deliberately making a long detour, Su Wei drove the car off the highway and drove towards the Zhuhai Industrial Park. "Boss, I have something to discuss with you." On the way, Li Xiaoman quietly watched Su Wei experience speed and passion. She didn't speak until she got off the highway. "What's the matter? Tell me," Su Wei asked with a smile, his face unable to hide the excitement. "Now Zhuhai Pharmaceuticals' demand for medicinal materials is increasing day by day. I think we should develop a Chinese medicinal material planting base. This will not only ensure the supply of medicinal materials, but also drive the local economy," Li Xiaoman suggested seriously. Zhuhai Pharmaceuticals' medicinal materials consumption is particularly large now. Not only supplying Gentian aerosol and Zufu, but also supplying the wasteland world with configuration-strengthening potions. Although you can buy it with money, there are always places that are restricted by others. Anyway, it costs money, so it is better to invest more and develop your own planting base. After 2 or 3 years, a solid industrial chain can be formed to enhance the company's risk resistance. Good idea, I raise my hands in favor. Su Wei was enlightened when he heard it. Why didn't he think of it? This is a profitable business for him. Because he has a magic weapon. Growth-promoting potion, exclusively produced by the Ministry of Agriculture of the Phaeton Base and the Wasteland world. Let's take a look. With it, the growth cycle of medicinal materials will be greatly shortened. And this can also be promoted in the Wasteland world. The only trouble is that the characteristics of the storage space prevent him from taking the medicinal material seeds to the Wasteland world. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have to deal with the medicinal materials. However, this matter can be done slowly. The non-mutated medicinal materials in the Wasteland world are just rare, not extinct. And there will always be a time to find them. As long as you cultivate carefully, there will always be a harvest, right? Really? But I've asked professionals to calculate it. The initial investment may be quite high. Li Xiaoman just made a suggestion, but she didn't expect Su Wei to be so happy and agreed to it immediately. It's okay, you know we have money, as long as it is conducive to development, we must do it, and we must do it immediately. Su Wei waved his hand and said nonchalantly. Money is just a number to him. He now feels like a chess player, playing a very big game. If you want to get the desired result, the layout is naturally very important. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311, Group Coming. Okay. I'll go to discuss the details with Sister Wei later. Li Xiaoman looked at Su Wei, and nodded in agreement after confirming that he was not joking. Well, we can find more people for this matter, or directly purchase ready-made ones. Don't be afraid of spending money, the most important thing is to be fast. In addition, I suggest that we try to book all the well-known production areas of various medicinal materials. If we want to use them, we should use the best, Su Wei said angrily. Now there are still many high-quality products being exported abroad, but China can only use inferior and low-quality ones. The same is true for traditional Chinese medicine. This is also a scar in the hearts of Chinese people. Therefore, Su Wei decided to change this situation. Yes, my boss. Li Xiaoman couldn't help but smile when she saw Su Wei's angry look. He is also angry, what a big boy who never grows up. As they talked, the two came to Zhuhai Industrial Park. It was still a scene of bustling activity here. The factory areas of Zhuhai Electronics and Zhuhai Pharmaceuticals have been expanding again and again, and are still under intense construction. In the built factory, people are working overtime to produce products. Nowadays, the number of employees in Zhuhai industry has reached tens of thousands, and it is still increasing. This is the case with the use of many automated machines. It can be seen how popular it is. After parking the car in the special parking space, the two got out of the car together and walked towards Zui building. As soon as they arrived, they went straight to the top floor, ready to talk to Xiaowei. Who knew that as soon as they got out of the elevator, they met a lot of people. In addition to Xiaowei, there were Ren Hongfei and Fang Qinghu from Huaio, Wang Pengcheng and his assistant from Xinghu, Mu Bao from Noble Zhixin, and Yis Hongqing from Donglei International. Oh my! Did these big guys come in groups? Mr. Su. It's so hard to see you now. Today, I finally waited for you. It's agreed that we won't go home until we get drunk today. Looking at Su Wei's surprised expression, Ren Hongfei said with a smile. The others also laughed. It was true. Apart from the one meeting when discussing cooperation, Xiaowei was the host afterwards and he was rarely seen. Okay, no problem, let's go to Gishixun, Su Wei agreed. As he spoke, everyone walked into the elevator and went down under the leadership of Wang Na. Sister Wei, what's going on? While waiting for the elevator, Su Wei couldn't help asking Xiaowei. Mr. Ren is here to inspect the chips. Mr. Wan is here to deliver the car. Mu Bao is here to see if he can add some orders. As for Uncle he is simply here to hand over the foundry procedures. We just happened to bump into each other, and I just happened to hear that you were coming back today, so I said I would stay and wait for you to have a meal together. I was just about to take them to the cafeteria for lunch, but you guys came back. I thought you would not be back to the company until the afternoon, Xiaowei said, looking at Su Wei and Li Xiaoman meaningfully. Bah, Sister Wei, what are you thinking about? Li Xiaoman's face turned red instantly. Haha, yes, it turns out that I thought too much, Xiaowei said with a smile. Su Wei couldn't help but blush. Fortunately, the elevator arrived at this time. And the three of them took the elevator downstairs. After all, there were people waiting downstairs. When they got downstairs, there were already two black business cars waiting. After Su Wei and Xiaowei got on a car each, they drove to the main store of Gishixun in the city. Li Xiaoman didn't follow them because she didn't have much business with them. She returned to Zui Pharmaceutical to continue her work. It is worth mentioning that the business car is also Li Bao, but this model will not appear in the civilian market. It is specially customized for Zui Group and government departments. Xinghu currently only launches 2 civilian cars, mainly because it has received huge orders for government cars. In order to get rid of restrictions. This time, Lei Lao took the opportunity of Xinghu's success in car manufacturing and launched a wave of car replacement. In the next 3 to 5 years, the replacement of public vehicles will be completed. All of them are pure domestic electric vehicles manufactured by Xinghu. Xinghu will also tailor different vehicles for different departments. This is a huge mission for Xinghu, and it also expresses Daksha's expectations for Zui Group. Of course, this is based on the premise that Zui Group, especially Zui Electronics and other core industries, will be included in the national control mechanism. Su Wei naturally has no objection to this. Zui Electronics is already under the protection and supervision of Zhan Long, it's just a formality. This meal was very lively. It lasted until the afternoon before it was over. The main reason is that no one at the table can drink. Except for Su Wei, the other men are basically unable to take care of themselves. This is the end of drinking with Su Wei. Be careful next time. Send someone to send these drunk bosses back to the hotel to rest. Su Wei took Xiaowei to the small house in Jingxiuan community. Xiaohu, are you okay after drinking so much? In the small house, Xiaowei took Su Wei a bottle of water and asked with concern. It's okay, the strength and body is awesome. In fact, you can drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk now. Oh cool, Su Wei said, unscrewed the lid, and drank it in one breath. The cool feeling penetrated the stomach and intestines, refreshing the heart and soul. In one word, refreshing. I was not drunk, but a little thirsty. No. I don't like the spicy taste. Drink some red wine occasionally, it's mainly good for the skin. Xiaowei sat down next to Su Wei and leaned on his shoulder. This kind of leisure time is getting less and less. Sister Wei, your skin is already good enough. Su Wei couldn't help but smile when he heard it. What woman would complain that her skin is too good? I still want it to be wider. I've been a little tanned recently. Xiaowei raised her hands, stretched out 10 slender fingers like green onions, and said with annoyance. Su Wei couldn't help but feel moved when he heard it. Since there's a black skin potion, is there a white skin potion? Although it is only temporary, if it is made into cosmetics, it can be used every day. Wouldn't it achieve the effect? Well, not bad, not bad. There is another goose that lays golden eggs. The key is to be able to make women all over the world think about it. This ability is also unparalleled. Hey, when you have time, go talk to Old Man Kin and make a whitening potion. That's great. Oh, Oziahu. How long can you stay this time? Xiaowei didn't know what Suwei was thinking, and asked in a dreamy voice while leaning on his shoulder. There are still some things to deal with over there. I have to fly there again in a few days, Suwei replied. The main body of the Starlight weapon is almost completed, and he has to go to the wasteland to prepare equipment and defense systems. Soon he will have to fly over to take charge of the overall situation. Maybe he will have free time after the Starlight weapon is officially launched. Oh, Xiaohu, did you go to see Shirley this time? Xiaowei replied with some disappointment, but then asked again. I was busy all the time, so I was delayed. Suwei was stunned when he heard this. Feng Zuli is in Mugusha, and the key is that he hasn't made up his mind yet. Oh, then go see her when you are not busy, Xiaowei said sympathetically yet. Chapter 312 The Polluter. After sending off the group of big bosses, Suwei temporarily returned to a life of 2 points and 1 line. After getting up in the morning, he drove to Jinxiu Garden, and from there he went to the Wasteland World to punch in. In the afternoon, he returned to Jinxiu Garden from the Wasteland World, and then went home to accompany his family. This is a normal life. At this time, far across the ocean in the north of the United States, there is a company called Luo Yington. It is one of the largest weapons design and manufacturing companies in the United States. The super soldier power armor mentioned earlier is a task assigned to Luo Yington by the U.S. military. It's a pity that after more than 10 years, the most critical endurance problem has not been broken through. It's hard to find a super hydrogen battery, but it can't be used. It gave Luo Yington's chief scientist a headache. Coupled with the emergence of Xinghu weapons, the HX-1 power armor came out. Their days suddenly became very difficult. No, I received a notice early yesterday morning. Tomorrow, U.S. Secretary of Defense Ellison will arrive at the company for a visit. Of course, this is a more euphemistic statement. It can be foreseen how bad the meeting will be at that time. Therefore, their boss, Bo Si, who is also the boss of Loyton, gave them an ultimatum. If they can't come up with a feasible plan today, they will have to wait for life in prison. It is impossible for those who have been exposed to core secrets to return to society. After a night of discussion, they finally came up with a feasible plan before the meeting. This gave the team leader Dr. Sindals a little confidence to attend the meeting. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the meeting was held as scheduled in the company's conference room. Only the military and the company's senior executives attended the meeting this time. But on the way to the conference room, Sindals felt his steps were extremely heavy. First, hydrogen metal came out, and then power armor. These two mountains pressed on them, and they felt that they were about to suffocate. Decades of superiority disappeared. Doctor, everyone is waiting for you. Arriving at the door of the conference room, an assistant said to Sindals. Yes, I'll go in now. Sindals took a deep breath, stretched out his hand to push open the door of the conference room, and walked in. Defense Minister Ellison and his staff sat in the front row, accompanied by company executives, trying to explain something, but Ellison's face never relaxed. When the door opened, everyone's eyes were cast over, causing Sindals' body to stiffen. Doctor, you must have brought us good news, right, Eric? A company executive immediately said with a smile. However, there was a cold taste in the smile. Yes, Minister Ellison, we have found a way to successfully use the super soldier in actual combat. Maybe we can even defeat the HX-1 power armor. Sindals immediately adjusted his state and said in a very confident voice. After all, he was facing a military boss, and if he had the slightest lack of confidence, he might be denied by the other party. At that time, their ending would be very tragic. Oh, tell me about it. Sure enough, Ellison's attention was immediately attracted by Sindals. Gentlemen, please look at the big screen. Sindals said as he walked to the projection equipment and connected the portable storage device to it. Soon, a projection of a humanoid armor appeared on the big screen. The heavy armor and mediocre appearance looked a bit like a medieval armor, but with a few more technological elements. It is the super soldier power armor that the United States has always placed high hopes on. Compared with the HX-1 power armor, it is like the work of an elementary school student. Gentlemen, the super soldier already has an actual combat operating system and fire control system. The only flaw at present is its endurance, SYNOPSIS said as he called up the relevant parameters and test impressions of the super soldier. He has done these many times and is already familiar with them. Doctor, there is no need to repeat what we know, just simply say what we don't know. Ellison couldn't help but reveal a look of disappointment. He has watched these videos countless times. In the past, he was excited every time he watched them. Since he watched the actual combat video of the HX-1 power armor, watching these again, he only felt a sense of shame. Okay, sir, next, we will get to the point right away. The only defect of the super soldier is that its endurance cannot meet the requirements of actual combat, so, we have a bold idea. Change the original electric drive to human drive. In this way, it can fully meet the requirements of actual combat. SYNOPSIS was not disrupted, but continued with Ellison's words. Ridiculous, Doctor, are you insulting our IQ? How can such a heavy super soldier be driven by human power? Ellison was furious and threw the cup beside him. It was because he didn't have the habit of carrying a gun, otherwise he would definitely not be able to resist shooting this skinny old man twice. Minister, don't get excited, of course it won't be an ordinary person, SYNOPSIS said calmly. Not an ordinary person? Do you want to use biochemical soldiers, asshole? Every biochemical soldier is very precious, and their own power is stronger than the super soldier. Are your heads full of shit? Ellison was even more furious. This was another wasted trip, and he would certainly not be able to explain to the president. He even wanted to ask his men to bring in his rifle and shoot this whimsical fool. No, Mr. Minister, you misunderstood again. Our idea is not to use biological soldiers. Facing the furious Minister of Defense, SYNOPSIS shook his head calmly. No biological soldiers, who can carry such a heavy super soldier? This time it was Ellison's turn to be surprised. Polluter. SYNOPSIS spat out 3 words. The faces of everyone present suddenly changed color. The so-called polluters are the failed products of the biochemical soldiers in the transformation process. Except for the human body, they have completely deviated from the scope of human beings. They have no fear, no pain, and no emotions. The only thing they have is killing and bloodthirstiness. This is why biochemical soldiers are precious, because the success rate of biochemical soldiers' transformation is only 3 or 4 out of 10. That is to say, out of 10 transformers, only 3 or 4 will succeed, and the others will become bloodthirsty polluters. The United States is naturally unwilling to spend a lot of resources but get most of the failed products. The most important thing is that, except for the loss of reason, the polluters' physical fitness is no different from that of biochemical soldiers. They also have great potential. So they concentrated the polluters in a specially built prison called the Bloody Castle and continued to study these failed products. I hope that one day these cold killing machines will be used for their own purposes. Chapter 313 Starstone. There was a moment of silence in the conference room. Everyone looked at SYNOPSIS as if they were a madman. The power of the polluters is second only to the biological soldiers, and they are indeed enough to carry the weight of the super soldier. But they are a group of uncontrollable monsters. Do you expect them to kill the enemy? If they don't kill you first, they are not polluters. How to control them? This time, Ellison didn't get angry again, but looked at SYNOPSIS with interest and asked. This skinny old man seemed to have come with a surprise. If this plan succeeds, it will definitely have unexpected results. The biological soldiers dare not say, but the polluters can have as many as they want. Starstone. SYNOPSIS slid the screen, showing a black, irregular stone-like object. Everyone was moved again. The history of Starstone can be traced back to hundreds of years ago, when the United States discovered genetic drugs, and discovered its existence. However, for hundreds of years, American scientists have been studying it, but apart from knowing that it does not belong to the Earth, they still know nothing about it. But being able to be preserved together with a precious genetic medicine must have its unknown value. Therefore, the United States has always regarded it as a treasure and hidden it in the most core laboratory. Loin is one of them. A breakthrough in the research? Ellison asked expectantly. Yes, there is a little breakthrough. Not long ago, when our experimenters accidentally irradiated the starstone with the wrong electromagnetic wave band, they found that the starstone actually resonated and emitted an indescribable wave. Coincidentally, The polluter who was conducting experiments in the laboratory next door miraculously quieted down. At first, we thought it was a coincidence, but after the experiment, we can be sure, the waves emitted by the star stone can control the polluter, and the electromagnetic wave band that excites the star stone has been confirmed. So, as long as we use the star stone to make a wave band generating device, we can completely control the actions of the polluter, SYNOPSIS explained while playing the experimental video. It can be seen from the screen that a simple band generating device has been made. Several polluters are controlled by the star stone wave to stand still, walk, and attack. Although it is monotonous and rigid, isn't this the ideal war weapon? No emotions, no pain, no fear, and now with the order, it is simply perfect. Nice. When can the finished product be produced? Ellison asked directly. The word finished product shows that the polluter is just an object in his mind. 3 days, 100 super soldiers can be equipped. After that, the speed will be even faster, SYNOPSIS answered decisively. Very good. Prepare immediately. I will tell the president this pleasant good news, Ellison said, and left with a happy face. Only the top executives of Lawton and Dr. SYNOPSIS were left in the conference room. Dr. SYNOPSIS, congratulations, I think your status as the chief can be further improved, keep it up. With that, the company's top executives also smiled and left with satisfaction. Only SYNOPSIS was left standing on the podium in a daze. Alice God, please forgive my sins. The military was satisfied, the top leaders got what they wanted, and the problem was solved, but SYNOPSIS did not feel the joy of success. No matter how you look at it, the polluter should be something to be destroyed, but he released it from the cage with his own hands. No one can predict what the consequences will be. Pray that the star stone is really the key to controlling the polluter. With a polluter acting as the engine of the super soldier, all problems are solved. To maintain the power of the auxiliary system, ordinary batteries can be used. On the contrary, due to the strong physique of the polluter itself, the combat effectiveness of the super soldier is one level higher than that tested before. At the same time, the pressure on logistics supply is greatly reduced. Because after a polluter eats once, it can go for up to a month without eating. If it enters a dormant state, the time will be even longer. Of course, if you encounter a situation that consumes physical strength such as a war, it is another matter. However, as long as there is a war, there will be deaths, and the polluter will have food. Fighting to support fighting, this is the most terrifying thing about the polluter. If Su Wei met the polluter at this moment, he would be very surprised, because apart from the characteristic of infection, the polluter is no different from a zombie. In the dark night, the world is quietly changing. Boss, that evening, when Su Wei returned to Yun Shujian from Jinxiu Garden, Chen Long came to him on purpose. Brother Long, is there anything wrong? Su Wei saw Chen Long's solemn face and asked hurriedly. There have been many suspicious people around Yun Shujian community recently. I suspect someone wants to plot against us, Chen Long said his speculation. Yun Shujian has been taken care of by Su Wei, and those who can come here are his own people. However, there are often strangers around recently. Although they have not done anything out of the ordinary, there is a little more tension than usual. Really, can you lock these people? Su Wei stopped immediately. Not yet, the system comparison shows that the people who appear each time are different, Chen Long replied. Yun Shujian is equipped with a security system transplanted from the wasteland. Except for the lack of a weapons system, it has all other monitoring and detection functions. It can be said that even if a mosquito flies in, it can automatically identify the male and female. Oh, let's go and take a look, Su Wei said, turning around and walking towards the number 8 courtyard in the security command center. Chen Long followed behind. When they arrived at the security command center, the room was full of display screens. The entire Yun Shujian and its periphery are within the monitoring range. This monitoring system has multifunctional scanning systems such as night vision and infrared, and is not affected by any climate. With artificial intelligence, it is not afraid of any hacker attacks. In order to ensure safety, Su Wei even installed a seismic detector to prevent the enemy from digging tunnels and lurking in. There are more than a dozen security personnel on duty here 24 hours a day. They change shifts every 6 hours to ensure that there is no fatigue. Su Wei checked all the monitoring information and used advanced artificial intelligence to compare it. Indeed, strangers appeared every time, without duplication. Obviously, the other party was very careful and did not want to alert the enemy. Have you contacted Han Long? Su Wei looked at the pictures of people listed on the screen. young and old, men and women, and even a few blonde and blue-eyed foreigners. Yes, Xianlong replied that a large number of special persons from abroad have entered the country recently, and their goals are unclear, reminding us to be more careful, Qianlong replied hurriedly. Chapter 314 Come and play. Tap, tap, tap. Sui, who was lost in thought, could not help but tap his fingers on the table, making a rhythmic sound. Okay, I got it. We need to send more people during this period to be more vigilant, Sui said and stood up. Yes, boss, Qianlong sent Sui to the door. Then he turned back and strengthened the guard according to Sui's request. Fortunately, Mr. Su and Mr. He don't go out often now, and they just hang out in Yanshujian. After the last incident, Su's father and mother also lost the idea of traveling and stayed at home. He Shuang is now a public figure, and the security personnel accompanying her are all carefully selected elites. With Xianlong's secret protection, there should be no problem. Xiaowei and Li Xiaomen also have special protection, and Ziwei Industrial Park has been taken over by Xianlong. The security level inside is no less than that of Yanshujian, so naturally there is no big problem. What needs to be strengthened is Su Jiao and Fang Kaiokio who are studying at school. At the same time, they should be reminded not to leave school easily recently. In addition, Li Xiaomen's mother also needs to be included in the security scope, and the enemy must not be given a chance to take advantage of her. As for Sui, he wished that the enemy would go directly to him. This way, it would be once and for all. However, looking at the current situation, the enemy will not act easily. Are we just going to wait passively? Of course not. Sui had an idea when he left the security command center. Since you want to play dirty, then play dirty with you. Sui went home first and had a warm dinner with his family. Tonight, Mr. He came to eat, and the atmosphere was naturally more lively. In fact, he often comes here. Shuang's schedule is very full now, so he has relatively less time to accompany her. Fortunately, Yanshujian is a big family, and Mr. He will not feel lonely. After dinner, the family sat in the living room as usual, watching TV and chatting, until after 10 o'clock, they went back to their rooms to rest. When the door was closed, a gleam of light flashed in Sui's eyes. Tonight, he will become a demon god to clear the hidden threats in Huidu City. After changing into a set of black clothes and taking the magic, Sui quietly left through the window. With artificial intelligence covering him, Qianlong and others could not find his trace. While eating, Sui let the artificial intelligence take over all the traffic and security monitoring in Huidu City. Now, the entire Huidu City is like a reduced map, presented in front of him, and he can clearly see every aspect and every corner. The suspects identified by the Yanshujian security system are basically nowhere to hide and are searched out by artificial intelligence. Turning on the navigation, Sui's figure quickly disappeared in the dark night. The first target is called Peng Yaohu. He is now more than 10 kilometers away from Yanshujian. According to the navigation prompts, Sui flew over the eaves and walls, and soon came to a place called Jufu Village. This is one of the few urban villages in Huidu City. Because of its low price, it attracts a large number of migrant workers to rent here. It has created an environment where good and bad people are mixed. As soon as Sui touched the magic on his face, he suddenly changed into an ordinary face and walked into Jufu Village. At night, this place has its own bustle. The barbecue stalls on the street are very busy, with bursts of smoke and a stimulating and fragrant smell. Mixed in the crowd, Sui came to the outside of a chess and card room called Yao. At 1932, the security surveillance camera captured the scene of Peng Yaohu entering the chess and card room, and he never came out again. If nothing unexpected happened, this person was still playing cards inside. Sui found a position facing the door and stood down. He took out his mobile phone and took a look. The time was 22:43. Handsome guy, let's play together. As soon as he stood still, two girls dressed in revealing and gorgeous clothes came over and asked Sui in a very frivolous tone. No, I'm waiting for someone, Sui refused. The low-quality perfume and foundation made him want to sneeze. Don't be shy, is your friend a man or a woman? I don't mind, we can play together. The two girls still didn't leave. It was obvious that they were attracted by the clothes on Sui, and they thought he was a big sponsor. Get lost, Sui shouted in a low voice, and a hint of murderous aura naturally emanated from him. The two girls suddenly felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar, and hurried away in fear. Only after they were away from Sui did they feel like they were back in the human world. The two girls stopped with lingering fear, and couldn't help but look back. However, they lost Sui's figure, and looked around, but they didn't find him either. Oh my god. Did I run into a ghost? The two girls were so scared that they didn't dare to stay, and hurried to a crowded place. In fact, Sui didn't go far away. Just now, a man came out of the chess and card room and turned directly into a small alley next to it. It was Peng Yao who that Sui was looking for, so he followed him in. It was just because the speed was too fast that people felt like they had seen a ghost. The alley was dimly lit and filled with the smell of garbage. Obviously this was a secluded path. Fuck Heliozin, when I have money, I will definitely come back to make a comeback. I'll win you until you have nothing left to wear, Peng Yao who cursed as he walked. As he walked, he suddenly stopped. Sui, who was following behind him, thought that the other party had discovered him, and was about to step forward. The guy actually faced the wall and shushed, damn. Hey, you will be fined for urinating and defecating anywhere. Did your parents tell you? Sui's mouth twitched and he immediately said. Fuck, Peng Yao who was having a good time, was frightened and peed in his pants, and he closed the gate instantly. It was really uncomfortable. Who the hell are you? You are full and have nothing better to do. You want to die, right? Peng Yao who turned around and saw Sui alone. He was immediately furious and rushed up with fists clenched. Oh my. Oh my. A smell of urine followed. Sui kicked him directly and knocked him to the ground. Poof. How could an ordinary person like Peng Yao who resist? Sui's light kick made him spit blood and even knocked out 2 teeth. Big brother, I was wrong, I was wrong. I will never pee or poop anywhere again. The severe pain made Peng Yao who instantly cowardly. People like him are bullies who only bully the weak and fear the strong. Shut up, is this a matter of peeing or pooping anywhere? Oh my, Sui walked to Peng Yao who, but soon took 2 steps back because of the smell of urine. How angry must this guy be? Then, why is that? Peng Yao who was about to cry. Tell me, what did you do in Yunshujian a few days ago? Sui asked, covering his nose. Yunshujian? Oh, I didn't do anything. I heard that the scenery there is nice, so I just went to take a look. Hearing Yunshujian, Peng Yao who couldn't help but feel a jump in his heart. Chapter 315, Flower City Dragon King. Did you do nothing? Do you need me to help you? Remember, I like to be helpful. Sui pinched his fingers and made a crackling sound. No. Peng Yao who was so scared that he was completely lost. He almost killed half of his life with 1 kick. If he was beaten up again, wouldn't he have no life? Then why don't you say it quickly? Sui said viciously. Yes, it's just someone who paid me to go to Yunshu room to take a look, and then take some photos and videos. I really did nothing else. Peng Yao who was so scared that he hurriedly told him. Who is it? Sui continued. I don't know you. He took the initiative to find me and gave me 2,000 yuan. Peng Yao who answered quickly. I was afraid that I would be beaten if I was slower. What does that person look like? Sui asked again. I don't know. He is wearing a hat, sunglasses and a mask, and I was only concerned about some money at that time, so I should pay attention. Peng Yao who looked regretful. If he had known that the money was so expensive, he would not have taken the job. Huh? What about the videos and photos you took? Did you send them to the other party? Sui was slightly stunned when he heard this. It seemed that the other party had done a lot of preparation. No, he just gave me a new phone. After I finished filming, I gave it to him, then I got the remaining half of the reward. Peng Yao who explained everything in detail. Huh? After asking for a long time, Sui snorted coldly without any clues. Peng Yao who was so scared that he was silent and huddled in the corner without daring to breathe. Drink it. Sui suddenly had a bottle of potion in his hand like magic. Of course, it was a must-have medicine for home travel, interrogation and questioning, the truth potion. Peng Yao who was scared to death, but under Sui's cold eyes, he could only bite the bullet and drink it. After that, he fell into a strange state. Sui asked the question again. He found that Peng Yao who did not lie. But he is a scum who eats, drinks, gambles, and smokes. Such a person is just a waste of food and pollutes the air. Therefore, Sui directly executed him on the spot, and then put it into the storage space. Although there was no result here, Sui was not discouraged. There are still many targets, and the night is very long. Anyway, There is plenty of time to meet this mysterious man. Next, Su Wei visited the target person's location one by one according to the artificial intelligence search. I was too lazy to talk too much, so I just used the truth serum. The results were similar to Peng Yaohu's. Anyway, they were all rogues and scoundrels in the market, so Su Wei directly destroyed them humanely. Anyone who touches the reverse scale, no matter how big the crime is, will be sentenced to death. It is worth mentioning that the foreigners came here in name, but they were actually professional killers. However, they received anonymous tasks, so they didn't know the identity of the employer. Su Wei naturally would not be soft-hearted with these people. He crushed them all to death and threw them into the storage space to feed the zombies. That's not all. Su Wei also let the artificial intelligence enter the dark web and hack into the assassin websites they belong to, paralyzing them directly. And hung a dragon's head on the top of the homepage one by one, signed, Hoodoo Dragon King. In order to have a deterrent effect, Su Wei also hung the head and signature of Hoodoo Dragon King on the homepage of Shadow Demon. Yes, Shadow Demon, the leader of the assassin world, has not been able to regain control of his website to this day, just because Liu Tingshan has not been killed. For a time, a frenzy was set off in the industry. The name of Hoodoo Dragon King resounded throughout the assassin world overnight. Next, Su Wei used his way to let every assassin know that there is a Hoodoo Dragon King in Hoodoo City, Daxia Kingdom, and he is the killer's nemesis. Because no matter who it is, no matter how they disguise themselves, once they enter Hoodoo City, they will be caught by the Dragon King. Of course, these are later stories, so let's not talk about them for now. Hard work pays off. Su Wei finally got a useful clue from the last suspect. When the mysterious man took out his phone, a piece of paper fell out of his pocket. After the mysterious man left, he picked it up and looked at it, and found that it was a note paper provided by Hoodoo Hotel. There was a string of numbers written on it, and I didn't know what it meant. Disappointed, he threw the paper away. Although it provided a useful clue, it still couldn't escape the fate of being destroyed. So far, all the gangsters employed by the mysterious man have disappeared from the world. Hoodoo Hotel, interesting. Su Wei didn't expect that the other party also lived in a hotel under the Ziwei group. However, he did not inform Guan Xianwu, but directly let the artificial intelligence invade the monitoring system of Hoodoo Hotel. Soon, he found people dressed in the same way in the monitoring. Hat, sunglasses, mask, and a dark blue windbreaker. Although the other party used a very clever method to remove the disguise one by one, the powerful computing power of artificial intelligence quickly compared the target person from the crowd. A middle-aged man with blonde hair and blue eyes lives in room 3301 of Hoodoo Hotel. Su Wei checked the room records of Hoodoo Hotel again and found that the room was checked in 3 days ago and has not been checked out yet. The information of the occupant is Martinoni D., 34 years old, American. Su Wei looked at the information found by artificial intelligence, and a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The last time the person who planned to kidnap his parents was from the United States, and this time it was again from the United States. If the tiger does not show its power, do you think I am a hello pit? While thinking, Su Wei has arrived at the Hoodoo Hotel in the center of Hoodoo City. Although it is already past 3 o'clock in the morning, there are still people coming in and out in front of the door of Hoodoo Hotel. The adult world is not that easy. Sometimes, you will find that sleeping is a luxury. Detouring to the back of the hotel, Su Wei sneaked in quietly. The surveillance was handled by artificial intelligence. He just had to avoid other people. Soon, he came to the 33rd floor, in front of the door of room 3301. In the early morning, the corridor was quiet. In front of Su Wei, the electronic lock had no effect and was quickly cracked by artificial intelligence. Click. The door opened, and the sound of the lock tongue jumping was extremely harsh in the silent air. Hoo faint snoring sounds came from the room. Standing at the door, Su Wei's mouth curled up slightly. At the moment the door opened, he heard a sudden pause in breathing. Although it quickly returned to normal, it seemed too deliberate in Su Wei's ears. Normal people are either not awake or alert when they wake up. They will never wake up and then continue to pretend to sleep. Just based on this point, it can be concluded that this person has a big problem. Su Wei also pretended not to notice, gently pushed open the door, walked in, and closed the door again with his backhand. Game on. Chapter 316 Clearance. Mr. Martin, this is not a good way to entertain guests. Su Wei walked into the room with heavy footsteps, but Martinoni D, who was lying on the bed, was still sleeping like a dead pig. What? Who are you? Why are you in my room? I'm calling the police. Martinoni D sat up from the bed in horror, as if he was awakened, and then spoke a distorted actual language and questioned Su Wei harshly. Zizzy, keep pretending. This year's Oscar statuette belongs to you. Su Wei looked at the man in front of him with a carefree look. If it weren't for the information searched by artificial intelligence, or if it weren't for the discovery before entering the door, he would really think he had found the wrong person. What are you talking about? I don't understand a word. Please leave immediately, otherwise I will call the police. Martinoni D still looked very angry. Old Ma, it's no fun if you do this. Okay, call the police. Let's see what the police say when they come. Oh, by the way, the police can't seem to control you. Do you want me to notify Hanlong for you to check your identity? The captain of the Avengers, Dark Angel, Mr. Pavips. Su Wei sat down leisurely on a chair beside him, smiling at the white-skinned man opposite. Artificial intelligence has found his file in the database of the U.S. National Security Agency. Martinoni D is just his pseudonym. Pavips is his real name. He is a member of the U.S. Avengers and has a high position. He is the captain of the Dark Angel, codenamed Grey Wing. There are 5 members in the team. I wonder how many of them are here this time? Are you from Zhanlong or the Eternal Palace? Seeing that he couldn't pretend anymore, Pavips regained his normal expression and stared at Su Wei coldly. One hand was left in the quilt intentionally or unintentionally. Me? Huh. Neither. Please introduce yourself. The new self-proclaimed Dragon King of Huadu. From now on, the protector of Huadu City. Don't come to Huadu City if you have nothing to do. Ghosts like you. If you need to come, you must report to me first. Report the website address, and click Huadu Dragon King's card. No reservations are accepted. The review depends on the character, and the working hours depend on the mood. Those who enter without approval will bear the consequences at their own risk, Su Wei said loudly with a smile on his face. As if he was worried that Pavips couldn't hear him. Ho-ha-ho-ha, Pavips laughed when he heard it. Dragon King of Huadu, never heard of it. I laughed to death. Report it. Do you know how to write the word death? Pavasp almost laughed to death. Of course I know the word death, and you will soon experience it. By the way, did you get through on the phone? Otherwise, what I said just now would be in vain, Su Wei said as he looked at the hand that Pavips covered with the quilt. How did you know? Pavips was shocked. How did he know that he had secretly connected the communicator? What else? Why would I waste so much time talking to a dead person? Su Wei looked at Pavips with a look that said you are dead. He had noticed Pavips's little tricks early on. He said so much just to pass on the information just now to the black hand behind the scenes. It is best not to do anything tricky in order to intimidate the other party. Who is going to die? Pavips realized that danger was coming, and he attacked Su Wei without warning while speaking. The nails on his hands hardened instantly, shining with a metallic luster, and grabbed Su Wei. HMPH, a grain of light. Su Wei didn't even stand up, and the grip of death on his hand was activated, grabbing Pavips's attacking claws. With a snap, it was twisted. The other hand locked Pavips's neck at the same time, and his screams were directly strangled in his throat. A small mid-level diamond dared to be presumptuous in front of him. It was simply like an old man eating arsenic, not knowing whether he would live or die. Snap! Su Wei directly broke the opponent's other arm. Pavips was in great pain, but with his neck locked, it was difficult for him to breathe, so how could he scream? His face suddenly turned red, like a crab in a steamer. Shasha Grey Wing at this time, a call came from the communicator. Ordinary people naturally couldn't hear it, except for Su Wei who had been strengthened. What do you want to do with him? He's very busy now. Su Wei picked up the communicator and put it on his ear. Who are you? Flower City Dragon King. A slightly hoarse middle-aged male voice came from the communicator. Not bad, the boy is teachable. Su Wei nodded with satisfaction. Where's Pavips? Did you kill him? The middle-aged man asked calmly. Not yet, I have a few more questions to ask him. Kill him after you finish asking. Su Wei turned his head and looked at Pavips, whose face was flushed, and loosened his grip a little to avoid suffocating to death. You? The middle-aged man was almost angry to death, but he had no other choice since he was in the other party's hands. Release Pavips, and I promise that our people will not harass Huadu City again. The middle-aged man tried to suppress the anger in his heart and said slowly. Ha, who are you? Su Wei laughed. Was this a threat? What? The middle-aged man was stunned and didn't understand what Su Wei meant. I asked you who you are? How can you guarantee it? Su Wei remembered that the other party was a foreigner, so he asked directly. I am Gale, the Supreme Commander of the U.S. Avengers. The middle-aged man's voice was full of pride. Oh, yes, it sounds like a high-ranking official, but releasing people is not up to you, Su Wei said calmly. Who has the final say? Gale asked. Nonsense. Of course I have the final say, stupid. Su Wei was speechless. Doesn't this guy understand the hidden meaning? You? Before Gale could finish his words, Su Wei took down the communicator and put it into the storage space. Beep 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 beep. A busy tone came. Fuck. In the building of the Avengers base in the United States, Gale angrily threw the communicator in his hand to the ground, and it broke into pieces. No one has ever dared to be so presumptuous in front of him. But he had to admit that the other party had the capital to shout. At least, being able to accurately find pop-ups is a kind of ability. Boss, how is the situation? The assistant was terrified and asked hurriedly. Check it for me. Who exactly is this Hoodoo Dragon King? Gale shouted with an unhappy face. Yes, boss, the assistant agreed quickly. By the way, the operation will be suspended until the identity of the Dragon King of Hoodoo is clarified. Notify all units to stay on standby, Gale added. Yes, boss. Chapter 317 Energy Potion. HMPH, so much nonsense, wasting my time. Su Wei didn't care about Gale and Bill. He took out a bottle of truth serum and poured it down Pavip's throat. Cough cough cough. After being released, Pavips coughed violently, not even caring about his arms that were in great pain. He breathed in the air greedily, as if he had never breathed in a lifetime. But soon, the effect of the drug came up, and he fell into a wonderful state. It was as expected. Su Wei got the answer here. Pavip's mission was to come to Hoodoo City to deal with Su Wei and Zui Group. However, they did not intend to take action directly, but to disguise their personnel as terrorists and carry out terrorist attacks on Zui Group and Yunshujian. Since Zui Industrial Park and Yunshujian were both protected very tightly, the Avengers sent Pavips to collect intelligence as detailed as possible to prepare for the next step. At present, he is the only Dark Angel who has arrived in Hoodoo City. After the intelligence is confirmed, other personnel will come to join. At that time, real terrorists will also be brought. After hearing this, Su Wei killed him without hesitation and put it into the storage space. Regardless of whether his information was leaked or not, anyone who had such an idea would have to die. Terrorist attack, humph, since you did it on the first day, don't blame me for doing it on the 15th. Su Wei sat in the guest room 3301, a little absent-minded. Everyone can say harsh words, but the follow-up cannot be sloppy. He is not short of money, people, or technology now. The only thing he lacks is a master. A master who can sit in charge of one side. After all, he has to rush to the construction of the wasteland world, and now there is a base in Menenia, so he can't stay in Hoodoo City all the time. However, to sit in Hoodoo, not to mention the Emperor level, at least a King level must be. However, the strengthening potion can only reach the gold level. Even with a 9th level strengthening potion, it can only break through to the platinum level at most. After platinum, relying on one's own practice, the speed is too slow. In addition, I don't know why, level 9 strengthening potions, after being used in modern times, can only play a role of breakthrough, and cannot stimulate evolution or awakening. Qianlong and his friends were the first to use the level 9 strengthening potion, and they are still at the platinum level. After that, Xiaowei, Li Xiaoman, He Shuang and others also did not evolve or awaken. Recently, the Shangwen sisters, with their physiques that they have cultivated since childhood, have only broken through to platinum. Su Wei guessed that there may be two reasons for this. One may be due to the physique of modern humans. The other may be due to the characteristics of the storage space, which makes a certain active factor in the level 9 strengthening potion inactive. Therefore, only strengthening is left, and evolution or awakening cannot be induced. But no matter what the reason is, Su Wei is powerless to change it and can only lie flat and accept it. However, he had an idea at this time. That is to extract the energy of corpse crystals or beast souls and make them into potions. This will not only improve the absorption efficiency, but also make it more convenient to use. The key is that it can be used in both worlds. This is very nice. Sitting in the room, after sorting out his thoughts, several hours passed unknowingly. The sky outside the window had begun to light up. Su Wei got up and packed up. He erased his traces and took away Pavips's things. Then he put on Pavips's coat, reached out and touched the illusion, and immediately turned into Pavips's appearance. Just like that, he went to the front desk to check out openly, and then left Huodu Hotel. After all, it was his own property, and he still had to do the aftermath. He didn't want the hotel to get into trouble. Anyway, there would be Pavips's checkout record and the surveillance video of his departure, which would be enough. He left the hotel gate, called a taxi, and got off halfway. He found a deserted place, changed back to his own appearance, and then quickly returned to Yunshujian No. 1 courtyard. With a cover of artificial intelligence, Su Wei returned to his room quietly. He changed his clothes, washed up, and went downstairs. It happened that Su's mother was preparing to make breakfast, so Su Wei went into the kitchen to help. The family was happy. After breakfast, Su Wei rushed to Jingxiuan community without stopping. There are a lot of things to deal with in the wasteland today, so we have to hurry up. When he arrived at the Phaeton base, Su Wei naturally went straight to the medical department. He found Qin Lao and told him about his idea last night. Qin Lao immediately made a decision and told him that this was feasible. In fact, Qin Lao had assumed this idea before, and had done relevant simulation experiments, and had a certain foundation. It was just because of the lack of energy extraction equipment that it was stranded. Now that the base has energy weapons, and the most important thing is that there is Feng Yunzi, a weapons expert, it is natural to make energy extraction devices. Because the principle of energy weapons is to extract energy and release it in a concentrated manner, thereby causing huge damage. However, this approach is a bit like farting and taking off pants in the wasteland. After all, for those survivors who are still struggling with hunger and cold, extracting energy and taking it and directly absorbing it are just a difference in time. But the former also requires medicine as a stabilizer, which is a bit of a loss for the wasteland where non-mutated medicinal materials are scarce. So, later Qin Lao gradually forgot about this matter. Now that Su Wei had mentioned it, Qin Lao's interest was aroused again, and he immediately arranged it. For this reason, Su Wei directly ordered to take the spare parts of the Thunder God and directly assemble the energy extractor. This way, the speed would be much faster. Qin Lao only needed to prepare a medicine that could stably store energy and was suitable for human absorption. In this way, after more than 10 attempts based on Qin Lao's original data, he finally got a finished product. Looking at the azure blue medicine in his hand, Su Wei was inexplicably excited. This was an energy medicine obtained by extracting more than a dozen low-level beast souls. Drinking it was equivalent to absorbing more than a dozen low-level beast souls, and the required absorption time was greatly reduced. Of course, this is relative. Low-level corpse crystals or beast souls contain less energy, so more are needed. But as the level of corpse crystals and beast souls increases, the energy extracted will also increase, and the energy potions that can be obtained will naturally increase. A high-level corpse crystal or beast soul can produce several energy potions. This is deliberately set to take into account individual differences. Each energy potion has a relatively stable dosage, which is easy to absorb, but will not cause ordinary enhancers to explode and die after drinking it. It is simple, convenient, safe and reliable. This is exactly the potion that Su Wei idealized, as if it was tailor-made for modern people. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318 I'm used to it. In the evening, Su Wei returned to Yunshujian with more than 100 energy potions. These were all made by Qin Lao and his men. This is the advantage of having a team. There is no shortage of materials. Just synthesize them. Don't even worry about the success rate. Just do it. Anyway, the materials can be collected again. It only takes a little labor and a few meals of rice. Su Wei did not go home, but went to Courtyard 8 to find Chen Long, and took him to Courtyard 7, which is specially used as a training ground. At this point, there are still security personnel training. As the saying goes, fist never leaves hand, song never leaves mouth. As long as you study hard and practice hard, your kung fu will naturally improve. Due to the special circumstances, Su Wei asked Chen Long to clear the field, and the training ground was closed tonight. After everyone else left, Su Wei took out an energy potion and handed it to Chen Long. Tell him that this is the latest type of potion that can quickly improve cultivation. Chen Long naturally believed it. He took the potion and drank it in one gulp. At first, I didn't feel it, but then, I felt a torrent surging in my body. Chen Long hurriedly sat down, resisting the torrent with all his heart and soul, and channeling and absorbing it. 1 hour, 2 hours. Just when Su Wei was about to fall asleep, Chen Long suddenly roared and jumped up from the ground, and the floor tiles under his feet cracked instantly. From the early platinum level to the middle platinum level, it took 3 hours to advance to a small step. This is nearly 10 times faster than directly absorbing corpse crystals or beast souls. It is really a good thing. Come on. Su Wei threw another bottle of energy potion to Chen Long. In this way, until noon the next day, Chen Long finally successfully broke through to the early diamond level. It took more than 10 hours in total and consumed 5 energy potions. Based on the principle of doubling, if you want to reach the king level, you need at least 10 energy potions. But this is no pressure for Su Wei. The key is that he is very satisfied with his speed. If it weren't for giving Chen Long some time to consolidate and buffer, he would have wanted to pile him up to the king level directly. Chen Long was given dozens of energy potions, and he was asked to give them to Wei Qiang, Gong Fansen, Ji Han, Luo Zicheng and others, so that they could also upgrade to diamond level as soon as possible, so that safety could be greatly improved. He also emphasized that this kind of energy potion can only be used by personnel after level 9 strengthening, otherwise it will cause adverse consequences. Su Wei was worried that someone would be too eager for success and burst himself. Chen Long naturally remembered Su Wei's instructions and carried them out meticulously. After doing this, Su Wei left with peace of mind. He drove his future warrior and headed towards Ziwei Industrial Park. He was going to deliver energy potions to the Shangwen sisters. After all, they were responsible for protecting Xiaowei's safety. The stronger they were, the safer they were. As for Xiaowei and other women, Su Wei did not consider it for the time being, because they had no combat awareness and experience, and the platinum level body was already strong enough, so there was no need to increase it for the time being. It would not be too late to use it later when the energy potion was sufficient. When Su Wei came to the president's office on the top floor of Ziwei building, Xiaowei was discussing the medicinal material planting base with Li Xiaoman. You guys talk about your own things, don't bother me, I just want to talk to Fair about something, Su Wei said hurriedly while looking at the two busy people, and hooked his finger at Shangwen Fair who was waiting in the rest area. Then he turned and walked out. Shangwen Fair looked at Xiaowei with a confused look on her face, and then looked at the back of Su Wei who was leaving. Finally, she got up and followed him out. These two people have been a little clingy recently, Li Xiaoman couldn't help but mutter. Who cares? As long as he can't run away, Xiaowei smiled. The two of them got into the discussion of the project again. Su Wei didn't stop until they came to the rooftop. This place was decorated as an aerial garden, with rockery and flowing water, full of poetic and picturesque scenery. On weekdays, only Xiaowei and other women would rest here, and few people would set foot here. Su Wei, what do you want to talk to me about? Shangwen Fair came over and asked curiously. This seemed to be the first time Su Wei took the initiative to find her. I'll give you something good, Su Wei smiled. Ah, Shangwen Fair's face flushed with red, not knowing what she was thinking about. Dang dang dang, the latest developed energy potion can help you improve your realm as soon as possible. A must have medicine for cultivation and upgrading, learn about it, Su Wei said as he took out a deep blue energy potion from his arms. Ah, Shangwen Fair couldn't help but scream again. It's a potion. It seems that I expressed the wrong feelings. So embarrassing, huh? Why are you blushing? Su Wei realized Shangwen Fair's shyness and couldn't help asking curiously. No, nothing, what did you just say? This can help improve your realm, is it also a strengthening potion? Why does it look different from the previous one? Shangwen Fair interrupted hurriedly. Of course it's different, strengthening potions are only for gold level, and are ineffective for platinum and above, but this one is amazing, it's called energy potion, and it's universal for platinum and above. I've asked someone to test it personally, 5 of them, in less than a day, you can upgrade from early platinum to early diamond, Su Wei said with an expression that was about to praise me. Ah, Shangwen Fair couldn't help but scream for the third time, and her red cherry mouth couldn't help but open wide and couldn't close. In less than a day, you can directly upgrade to diamond. Oh my god. This speed is simply going against the will of heaven. Come on, I'll give you winners as well. Take the time to improve your strength, Su Wei said, taking out another 9, making 2 groups, and stuffing them into Shangwen Fair's 2 little hands. Su Wei, this is too expensive, eh? Shangwen Fair looked at Su Wei with a complicated expression and said. No way, you are responsible for Xiao Wei's safety. The stronger you are, the more at ease I will be. Don't think too much. As we develop, we will touch more and more interests of others, and naturally we will have more and more enemies. I don't want to see a tragedy happen, so, hurry up and get stronger. Su Wei couldn't help but raise his hand to rub the top of Shangwen Fair's head. The soft hair felt first class. But in an instant, he felt that this action was a bit ambiguous, so he quickly withdrew his hand and grabbed the back of his head. So embarrassing. There is really no special meaning, it's just a habitual action, just like to my sister Su Jiao. Yeah, we will definitely work hard. Shangwen Fair did not dodge, but looked at Su Wei seriously and said firmly. This made Su Wei even more embarrassed. Chapter 319 Decoration Team. After telling Shangwen Fair how to use the energy potion and the precautions, Su Wei reminded her that Huatou City might not be peaceful recently, and the enemy was planning a terrorist attack on Ziwei Group and related personnel. Therefore, we must be alert. Shangwen Fair was not afraid, but even happier, because this was their job. Now I am idle all day long, and I feel that my body is about to mold. It would be better to have a few people to practice with so that she can have a good time. It is another violent little lolly, who is comparable to Yuna. Seeing Shangwen Fair full of fighting spirit, Su Wei was naturally very happy. In addition, he told Shangwen Fair to keep the energy potion secret for the time being, mainly because the current production is limited, and only his people can use it first, and Xianlong will have to wait until the later stage. At the same time, let Xianlong digest the first batch of strengthening potions first. Shangwen Fair naturally agreed. Finally, Su Wei asked Shangwen Fair to arrange a large plane. He needs to fly to Meninia again in 3 days. Shangwen Fair naturally agreed. 3 days later, the Shangwen sisters successfully broke through to the early stage of the diamond level. Wei Qiang and others also reached the early stage of the diamond level. Qianlong was 1 step ahead and reached the early stage of the king level. The overall strength increased greatly. Su Wei left with peace of mind. Early that morning, Su Wei asked Jin Ziafang to take him to the airport. Now, the purchase volume of the wasteland world has dropped significantly, so Su Wei asked Jin Ziafang and Hu Dun to go to Ziwei Pharmaceutical to help first. It just so happened that there was a project of a medicinal material planting base to be launched, and they were short of manpower. Similarly, after passing through a specific channel, Su Wei had transformed into an old wolf. More than 10 hours later, he landed on the runway next to the Xinghu weapon. Using the same method, another 100 sets of HX-1 power armor were transported to the training base of the Longji factory. Of course, strengthening potions are indispensable. Chu Haoyan and the other 4 have broken through to the early stage of the platinum level, and there has been no evolution or awakening, which further verified Su Wei's idea. However, now that there is an energy potion, Su Wei naturally does not have to worry about the problem of improving strength, and it is done. In view of the improvement in the strength of Chu Haoyan and others, the first batch of enhanced personnel can go 1 step further and move towards level 6 enhancement. The second batch of enhanced personnel can also strengthen to level 3, and start power armor training. So far, the official Xinghu army has reached 200. There are more than 100 reserve forces continuing basic training. While the strength is enhanced, ideological education is the top priority. Fortunately, Ma Qiang has served as an instructor in the army before and has a lot of experience in this area. Let the loyalty of the Xinghu army continue to improve, saving Su Wei a lot of trouble. After dealing with the affairs of the Xinghu army, Su Wei transformed himself into Paro and officially took over the Xinghu weapon factory. The factory was completed a day ago, including the fortress-like walls, ground hardening, greening, etc., all in place in 1 step. From a distance. This is not an arsenal, it is simply a large fortress. Su Wei transferred 100 Xinghu army and imposed martial law around the factory. Then, he went into the arsenal alone. Came to the underground, the bottom floor. This place is 100 meters away from the surface, and it is surrounded by high-strength reinforced concrete, which is enough to withstand the attack of nuclear bombs. Su Wei set up the main brain host made in the wasteland here. It will become the brain of the Xinghu weapons factory, controlling everything about Xinghu weapons, including monitoring systems, automatic production lines, automatic defense systems, etc. Ji Tongguang and others equipped it with a small fusion furnace. The fuel is hydrogen fusion fuel rods made of hydrogen metal. Once filled, it can meet 10 years of full load operation. Including the super battery matrix charging of power armor, the design value is to provide 1,000 sets of power armor, charging at the same time. Therefore, the energy center is particularly important. In order to prevent energy interruptions, Ji Tongguang and his team prepared 2 sets of cores, that is, if one set has a problem, the other set can be seamlessly connected. At the same time, it is also equipped with maintenance robots, which can be repaired and processed in the first time to ensure normal energy supply. Su Wei instantly turned into a decoration worker and manually built a main brain and fusion furnace. It is good to have strength, and a fusion furnace weighing several tons can be easily lifted. They are all modular designs. You just need to follow the drawings and assemble them like building blocks. It took Su Wei several hours to assemble them. After checking them carefully and confirming that they were correct, he pressed a button to start the switch. With a slight buzz, the device started. The main brain turned on instantly, and after the system self-checked, it entered the working state. At the same time, the Xinghu arsenal disappeared instantly on the satellites of various countries, as if it had never appeared. This news was naturally reported to the heads of state of various countries at the first time. After all, the Battle of Malgisa was shocking, and countries around the world were paying attention to the progress of Xinghu. Now it suddenly disappeared. It can only be said that Xinghu has been put into use and has advanced satellite shielding functions. This has taken Xinghu's deterrence to a new level. If it cannot be detected by satellites, it means that it cannot attack remotely. If you want to fight in close combat, the HX-1 power armor will instantly teach you how to be a man. Xinghu main brain, start work. In the underground base of Xinghu weapons, Su Wei released a large number of engineering robots, and the Xinghu main brain immediately connected and gave an order. The army of engineering robots immediately rushed to the scene. Complete the installation of the monitoring system, automatic production line, and automatic defense system. Su Wei immediately turned into a mobile warehouse again, and put out the prepared equipment like a stream. Even with the high efficiency of the engineering robot army, it took 3 days and 3 nights to install the entire Xinghu weapon. Needless to say, the monitoring system uses multiple scanning visual monitoring cameras, which can work normally regardless of day, night, or extreme weather conditions. The automatic production line mainly produces the Hunting Dragon heavy machine gun used by the HX-1 power armor, and ammunition for the 35mm close defense gun. There is also a small part, which is the production and manufacturing of rifles, light and heavy machine guns and other weapons customized by the Maninian military. The automatic defense system mainly relies on the 35mm close defense gun eliminated from the Phaeton base, as well as a small number of small laser guns. As for heavy weapons such as aircraft, tanks, missiles, and artillery, Su Wei did not plan to take them. The HX-1 power armor will be upgraded soon. At that time, it will no longer be a single model. A detailed division will be made on the original basis. For example, those who are good at shooting will be equipped with powerful and highly accurate electromagnetic pulse guns, becoming snipers among power-armored soldiers. They can penetrate tanks and even fortresses. Power-armored soldiers responsible for fire support will be equipped with more powerful firepower, which may be modified machine guns or intensive rocket launchers. In short, the stronger they are, the better. There will also be shield soldiers who are responsible for defense and flame soldiers equipped with flamethrowers. The power-armored soldiers of the future will be a diversified and multifunctional cluster. The Phaeton base has already started designing this, and it is estimated that it will be used in actual combat soon. At that time, Xinghu only needs to replace the special alloy with ordinary alloy to copy it. Chapter 320 Forced Landing. The Xinghu Weapons Factory, the ground part is mainly for the assembly and packaging of weapons for sale. At the same time, it is also the training, stationing and defense side of the Xinghu army. In the underground part, only Su Wei, only Paro has the authority to enter, but he can use the smart bracelet to remotely control the Xinghu main brain. After everything is ready, the next step is to recruit workers. Although the production line is highly automated, it is only limited to the underground part. The ground part still needs some personnel to take care of it. Chu Haoyan has already made preparations for this and transferred people directly from the Longji factory. As early as when the construction of Xinghu weapons began, Longji began to expand its recruitment in large numbers. Now it comes in handy. In addition, Longji has also become a vassal of Xinghu, purchasing ore, smelting it into metal, and supplying it to Xinghu. Therefore, it took less than a week for Xinghu weapons to complete the first batch of orders from the Maninia government from installation to completion. At the same time, the production of 200 Xinghu Army's main weapons, the Dragon Hunter heavy machine guns, and the ammunition reserves for the defense system's close defense guns were completed. It is worth mentioning here that the ammunition supply system of the close defense gun. It does not rely on manpower to supply ammunition, but directly designs the ammunition compartment into a drone, which can automatically fly back to the ammunition depot to replenish ammunition, and then automatically fly back to dock with a close-in defense gun. Theoretically, if each close-in defense gun is equipped with 4 to 5 such drone ammunition compartments, it can achieve uninterrupted continuous shooting and form an extremely terrifying firepower network. This idea is designed by survivors in the wasteland world to defend against the zombie tide. However, due to the limitation of materials, when facing the zombie tide, the number of ammunition often cannot keep up with the number of consumption, and it ends in failure. But in modern times, this is extremely terrifying. With the assistance of small laser cannons, it can be said to be invincible. On this day, Su Wei, Chu Haoyan and others were meeting in the office building of Xinghu Weapon to discuss the next expansion plan. They received a call from Cadman. It was said that a civil aircraft flying from Malta to Saudi Arabia had a malfunction in the air and was in the airspace near Xinghu Weapon, hoping to use the runway outside the Xinghu Weapon factory for an emergency landing. Faced with such a situation, several people looked at each other and turned their eyes to Su Wei. Master, immediately investigate the nearby airspace. After hanging up the phone, Su Wei gave an order to the big screen. Of course, the master here is just a clone, and the real body is hidden at the bottom of the ground 100 meters underground. Received. Start satellite search. Lock on the target. The master immediately took action and focused on scanning the nearby airspace. Sure enough, a civil aircraft was found flying, and one of the engines was emitting black smoke, which seemed to be shaky. Judging from the paint, it should be a civil aircraft of motor aviation. Although Su Wei did not launch a satellite, there are so many satellites from various countries flying overhead, so just invade. With such a skill, why bother so much? Contact the captain. Su Wei gave another order. Received. The call channel is being connected. Ding. The other party has connected. The master quickly completed the docking, and a noisy sound suddenly came from the speakers. At the same time, the picture of the interior of the plane appeared on the big screen. In the cockpit, the captain was holding the joystick with all his strength, trying to keep the plane stable. The co-pilot was in the cabin. The flight attendants were trying to maintain order, but it was obviously ineffective. There were cries in the cabin, as if the end of the world was coming. I am Paro, the commander of Xinghu Weapons. Are you the ones requesting an emergency landing? Su Wei directly started the conversation with the captain. Oh, God, yes, I am Captain Clem of Flight MD-112. I request an emergency landing due to a mechanical failure. After hearing Su Wei's voice, the captain shouted loudly, and it can be seen that he was very emotional. Report the status of the aircraft first. Su Wei did not agree directly. He was still carefully observing the situation on the screen. The right engine caught fire and has stopped running. Multiple restarts have failed. The left engine also has a fault warning. I don't know when it will stop. We can't continue in this state for long. The captain tried his best to calm himself and reported to Su Wei. Got it, I will have someone clear the runway. In 15 minutes, Flight MD-112 will be allowed to make an emergency landing. Su Wei finally agreed to the other party's request. No abnormality was found, but the hundreds of lives in front of them could not be ignored. This operation made Chu Haoyan, who was standing by, jealous. Brother Wolf is awesome. Got it. Got it, thank you, thank you. Flight MD-112 will make an emergency landing in 15 minutes. Captain Clem's more excited voice came from the speakers. Then, Clem immediately broadcast the good news that they could make an emergency landing to all the people on the plane through the radio. This news was like a reassurance, giving the people who were originally desperate a glimmer of hope. The chaotic cabin gradually quieted down. The flight attendants hurriedly comforted everyone and prepared for the emergency landing. Su Wei cut off the call with the plane, but still let the main brain monitor the movement of the plane. The flight deviated and flew towards Xinghu weapon. Su Wei hurriedly added it to the friendly list, otherwise it would be blown into slag by the defense system before it could make an emergency landing. Heozi, Lao Ma, take a team of people to guard, remember to wear armor, and don't be careless, Su Wei said to the two. Anyway, this accident came a little suddenly, so we naturally couldn't take it lightly. Yes, I understand, the two ran out immediately. 15 minutes later, Su Wei watched on the surveillance screen that flight MD-112 landed safely on the runway outside the factory. The rescuers who had been waiting at the airport immediately rushed over to evacuate the people on the plane and put out the fire on the damaged engine. Fortunately, no one was injured. The people who escaped the disaster cheered on the runway and celebrated the joy of rebirth. Ladies and gentlemen, please pack your belongings. This is a military restricted area, so taking photos is strictly prohibited. Please line up. We will escort you to the designated area to rest and wait for the next rescue. I hope everyone will cooperate. At this time, Chu Haoyan drove his number 02HX1 over, and the loudspeaker on the power armor clearly transmitted every word of his to everyone's ears. Wow, cool, oh my god, it's real. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. At this time, people began to notice the surrounding environment. The towering fortress walls, the ferocious close defense turrets, the cool power armor, and the visually impactful dragon-hunting heavy machine guns were full of sci-fi elements, which made people feel like they had traveled to the future world. Chapter 321 Attack. Click. Some people still didn't listen to the advice, took out their phones, and took pictures of the cool power armor. This is the HX1 power armor that has become popular on the internet recently, and it is the only one in the world. If you can take the photos back, you can brag about it for the rest of your life. However, the next second, the person who took the photo was in tragedy. Chu Haoyan waved his hand, and the Xinghu army behind him immediately raised his hands and shot, and several weakened currents hit the mobile phone that took the photo. Black smoke instantly came out of the mobile phone, and the owner of the mobile phone was also electrocuted so that his hair exploded, which was unforgettable for a lifetime. Stop quickly. Sorry, I apologize to you on their behalf. Captain Clem rushed out in a hurry. It was his duty to protect the safety of the passengers. Tell them to take care of their mobile phones. Next time, it won't be as simple as being electrocuted, Chu Haoyan said coldly. It's good enough to let you make an emergency landing, but you still make trouble for me. Do you think I'm a Hello Pip body? Of course, I promise, Captain Clem hurriedly promised, and at the same time asked the flight attendants to maintain order among the passengers. With a previous experience, everyone became more honest. Otherwise, the Indians lying on the ground would be their role models. Excuse me, are you Commander Paro? After calming everyone down, Captain Clem hurriedly asked Chu Haoyan, who was leading the group. No, Chu Haoyan shook his head and said. Excuse me, where is Commander Paro? Captain Clem continued to ask. What do you want to do? Chu Haoyan looked at him warily. The Xinghu army behind him also raised the dragon hunter in his hand. No, don't misunderstand, I just want to thank Commander Paro in person. After all, if he hadn't agreed to the forced landing, our fate would still be unknown, Captain Clem hurriedly explained. This airport belongs to Su Wei's private airport, and it is also a sensitive military restricted area. If he doesn't agree, no one else can do it. Helping is a favor, not helping is a duty, nothing is taken for granted. That's right. Let's meet Commander Paro, let's thank him in person. Some enthusiastic passengers also stepped forward and said. They looked at Chu Haoyan with expectant eyes. Let me ask for instructions. Chu Haoyan didn't know what to do. Brother, did you see it all? At this time, Chu Haoyan switched to the internal channel and asked Su Wei who was in the office building. The power armor has been integrated into the central control system of the main brain, so Su Wei can naturally see and hear it. Yes, I saw it, then let's meet him. Looking at the enthusiastic people on the screen, Su Wei agreed casually. After learning Su Wei's reply, Captain Clem and everyone were extremely happy, looking at the door of Xinghu weapon, looking forward to it. After a while, Su Wei was seen riding an electric balance car and coming out of the door. The Xinghu army immediately retreated to both sides and made way for Su Wei. Hello, I'm Paro, the commander of the Star Weapons. Su Wei got off the car and walked to Captain Clem. Hello, let's meet again, I'm Clem, The captain of flight MD-112, "Thank you very much for your generosity." Clem cautiously extended his right hand to Sue. "You're welcome. It's my duty. Please don't worry, the Menenia government will make proper arrangements for you until the rescue is over." Sue stretched out his hand and shook hands with Clem. Thank you very much, on behalf of all the crew members and passengers, thank you again for your kindness," Clem said, bowing to Sue with a pious face. "Go and rest. If you need anything, you can ask the staff, we will try our best to meet it." After Sue waved his hand at Clem, he shouted to the people behind him, "Oh, long live Commander Paro!" The passengers immediately cheered. At this moment, a little girl who was less than 10 years old ran out from the crowd, holding a white silk scarf in her hand. "Stop!" 2-star army soldiers immediately blocked her way. "Uncle Paro, Mom said you saved all of us, can I give it to you? It's my favorite scarf, I think you will look good wearing it." The little girl was not afraid at all. She raised the silk scarf in her hand and said to Sue, with chestnut hair, fair skin, delicate and small features, and wearing a red dress, she looked like a porcelain doll. "Let her come over." Sue smiled slightly and waved at the 2 Starlight Army soldiers. "Yes, Commander." The 2 Starlight Army soldiers immediately stepped aside. The little girl immediately jumped over from between the two. Captain Clem and other passengers looked at this warm scene and smiled with relief on their faces. Kindness always makes people feel happy. Next, the little girl put on the lovely and pure silk scarf for their savior Paro, and then gave him a heartwarming hug. It was just perfect. It's a pity that we can't take pictures, otherwise it would be a moment that touched countless people. It's a pity that it can only remain in everyone's memory and then be gradually forgotten. Everyone couldn't help but look again. The unlucky guys who were still twitching on the ground retracted their hands that were about to take the phone. Closer, closer. The little girl came to less than 3 meters in front of Sue. Sue even began to squint to greet the scarf in the little girl's hand. However, at this moment, a crazy alarm sounded in Sue's headset. "Alarm, abnormal radio waves detected. Alarm, abnormal radio waves detected. Alarm, abnormal radio waves detected." It was Xinghu's monitoring system that was activated, indicating that something abnormal had occurred nearby. Sue's movements froze. "Protect the commander." Chu Haoan was the first to react. The alarm was synchronized to the internal channel of the power armor, and all Xinghu soldiers could receive it. The few Xinghu soldiers closest to Sue immediately rushed towards Sue. The sudden change made Captain Clem and the passengers confused. Because they couldn't hear the alarm, they only saw the Xinghu soldiers suddenly take action. Boom! Before everyone even had time to think, a huge explosion sounded, and the huge explosion cloud affected a large area. Captain Clem, who was standing at the front, was instantly blown away by the shock wave, and the passengers behind him were also thrown all over the place. Beep, beep, beep. The alarm of the Xinghu weapon suddenly resounded through the sky, and all personnel entered the first level of combat readiness. The close-in defense guns on the top of the city wall revealed their ferocious faces, the barrels began to rotate, and the infrared aiming was turned on. Everyone at the airport was instantly covered by dense red dots. Life hangs on a thread. Chapter 322, Nightmare. Human bomb, the first thought that came to everyone's mind. But the other party was just a child under 10 years old. Beast, Chu Haoan, who woke up from the shock wave of the explosion, rushed to the explosion point regardless of everything. Brother, brother, he kept shouting Sue. Such a close distance and such a powerful explosion, the result is worrying. The 3 Xinghuans who rushed over were blown to the side. Fortunately, they were protected by HX-1 power armor, otherwise they would have been killed long ago. Brother, brother, the explosion cloud dissipated, leaving a big pit on the spot, but the little girl and Sue were gone. "I will kill you." Chu Haoan's eyes instantly turned red, and he snatched the dragon hunter from a Xinghu army soldier, and was about to shoot these beasts who were repaying kindness with hatred. "Haozi." At this moment, Sue's voice came from not far away. Chu Haoan turned his head hurriedly and saw Sue standing there unscathed. The explosion seemed to have no effect on him at all, and there was not even a bit of dust on his body. "Brother, brother, how are you? Are you injured?" Chu Haoan ran over in a few steps, looking at Sue nervously and asked. "I'm fine." Sue smiled slightly and shook his head. "Brother, what should we do with these people?" After making sure Sue was fine, Chu Haoyan turned to the group of passengers who were still shaking their heads and in a daze with an angry face. Catch them first. Su Wei's face turned cold in an instant, and his eyes fell on a broken hand that fell on the ground in the distance. Only half of the white silk scarf was left, covered with dust, sand and a few eye-catching blood stains. Just what happened? At this time, Ma Qiang ran over. He originally led people to prepare the transport vehicle, and hurried over after hearing the explosion. There are terrorists, using human bombs, trying to attack the commander. Chu Haoyan gritted his teeth and said. He now looked at those passengers, each of them looked like a terrorist. The tense atmosphere made the people who gradually woke up feel like they were falling into an ice cellar. That's outrageous. They should be allowed to crash the plane. Ma Qiang was also furious when he heard this, and looked at everyone with a bad look. No, that's not the case, Commander, we didn't know anything at all. Captain Clem stood up with the help of the co-pilot. He was the closest to the plane just now, and fortunately the Xinghu army that rushed over accidentally blocked most of the impact for him, so he was able to save his life, but his head was bleeding, his arms and legs were broken, and his body was covered with wounds. Captain Clem, you don't count. From now on, you will be subject to a comprehensive investigation by Xinghu. If there are any resistance, they will be killed without mercy. Su Wei left a word and turned away. You? Captain Clem opened his mouth to defend himself, but felt deeply powerless. The other passengers looked ashen, not knowing what kind of treatment they would receive next. How could everything that was originally good be shattered in an instant? Such a small and cute girl turned out to be a human bomb? The huge contrast made everyone remain silent, and the innocent smile of the little girl was still replaying in their minds. Everything felt so unreal, as if it was in a dream. It was not until the Xinghu army, wearing power armor and holding weapons, surrounded them that everyone suddenly realized that all this was not a dream, but a real thing. Roar! At this moment, 3 people suddenly rushed out of the crowd, 2 men and 1 woman, all very young, raised their guns and shot at Su Wei's back. Bang! 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 The bullets were blocked by Chu Haoyan's body. Catch him alive! Su Wei turned around and shouted loudly. The Xinghu army, who were about to shoot, immediately changed to electric shotguns. One person lost the ability to move in an instant and fell to the ground twitching. The Xinghu army did not relax, and rushed forward, tying the 3 people with steel cables like dumplings. Su Wei asked someone to take the 3 terrorists back to the Xinghu base, and the others were sent to the training base of the Longji factory. But this time, they were not treated so well, and were escorted there like prisoners. Some people were dissatisfied and protested loudly, but unfortunately the protest was ineffective. After being shot twice, they became obedient. What awaits them will be truth serum and interrogation. Once any abnormal person is found, they will not be able to go back. Su Wei brought the 3 attackers to a small warehouse of Xinghu weapons, and the 3 were immediately hung on the steel beam. Brother, sit down. Chu Haoyan brought a chair from somewhere and placed it behind Su Wei. Although the high-frequency electric shotgun has lowered the power, it will take some time to recover. Su Wei nodded approvingly and then sat down. Taking advantage of this time, he connected the artificial intelligence with his mobile phone and retrieved the identity information of the 3 people in front of him from the flight information through facial recognition. However, there is nothing special. The 3 people come from different regions and countries, and there is no intersection in their resumes. But at first glance, these are fake. The little girl has so many bombs on her body, and the 3 people have guns in their hands. They can get on the plane, which makes people think deeply. Even the plane happened to malfunction when it arrived in the nearby airspace, which may be pre-designed. Thinking about it carefully, Su Wei felt a strong smell of conspiracy. Brother, they're awake. Chu Haoyan, who was standing by, woke up Su Wei, who was lost in thought. Half an hour had passed before he knew it. Let's get started. Su Wei put away his phone and stood up. Tui. The 3 people whose hands and feet were tied all looked down on Su Wei and spit at him. They had no sense of being captured at all. Hey, little brat, you're itching, right? Chu Haoyan had never seen such arrogant captives before, and he couldn't help but go forward and beat them up. But as soon as he grabbed a captive's hair, the man's face turned blue and he foamed at the mouth. Commit suicide by taking poison. Su Wei took a look and hurriedly took out the antidote and poured it down the 3 people. Damn, he is indeed a ruthless person. He took poison without saying a word. The potion in the wasteland world has never let Su Wei down. Among the 3 people, Except for the first man who took the poison and died, the remaining two were saved by the rapid dissolution of the poison. At this time, the two of them couldn't help but reveal a look of horror. Death is not scary, but being unable to die is scary. However, Su Wei had no interest in torture. So he used the truth serum directly. With the help of artificial intelligence-assisted translation, the truth of the matter was soon revealed. They were terrorists from a small country in the west, Iraq. The organization's code name was Nightmare. At the organization's request, they came here to attack Paro and fight to the death. The little girl was a tool trained by the organization since she was a child. She was instilled with inhuman ideas since she was a child, believing that death was the supreme glory, so she smiled so brightly. Chapter 323, Grafting. Beasts. These beasts, after listening to the confessions of the two, Chu Haoyan wanted to skin them alive. Human nature can be twisted to such an incredible degree. They not only kill children and women, but also the elderly. The vulnerable groups will become their tools, carrying bombs and attacking targets everywhere. Just because these people look too weak, it is easy for people to relax their vigilance, so that they can succeed repeatedly. Even if they find abnormalities, normal people will hesitate for a moment when facing unarmed children, women, and the elderly, which provides them with an opportunity to create terror. Don't worry, these beasts won't live long. Su Wei flipped through the video of the two people's confessions and said casually. These things can no longer be called human beings. They are all monsters in human skin. To treat monsters, there is only one word, kill. Brother, are you going to deal with the nightmare? Chu Haoyan, who was standing aside, heard this and his eyes suddenly lit up. War is a stage that reflects the charm of men. His alloy sword is already thirsty. Of course, if you dare to mess with me, let him have a taste of what it means to be targeted. Besides, didn't you hear what they said? Fight to the death? Do I have to wait for them to attack me again? Su Wei said, put away his phone, turned around and walked outside. Hey brother, what should we do with them? Chu Haoyan laughed why, and hurriedly asked Su Wei's back. Kill. Su Wei walked out of the warehouse without looking back. The next morning, the Octagon building in the United States. Sir, the mission failed. James Bridge walked into the director's office with a serious face. Huh? Got it. Ordinary people are really unreliable? John D. looked at the news report on MD-112 flight on the computer with an expected expression on his face. First, the bad news came from the flower city of Daksha, and then the attack on Paro failed. He was already a little numb. Originally thought that it would not be easy to attract attention by relying on ordinary people, but the result was also disappointing. So, what should we do next? James Bridge asked hesitantly. Continue to execute the plan, John D. said calmly. Choked to death, sir? James Bridge nodded and turned to leave. Hello, connect me to the Ministry of Defense. When the door closed, John D. picked up the phone. That afternoon, the International News Agency published an article with the title Star Weapon Shooting Innocent Civilians. Is it really cruel or fake kindness? The report tells that after the MD-112 flight had a malfunction, it borrowed the private airport of Manila Star Weapons to make an emergency landing, but then all the crew members of the MD-112 flight lost contact. According to the information obtained by the International News Agency from MD Airlines, the crew and passengers had successfully made an emergency landing, but then lost contact. They had communicated with the Manila government many times, but did not get a positive response. Even Star Weapons refused to communicate and did not agree to publish the images of the crew members and passengers to prove that they were all still alive. So, there was a bold speculation that those people had been ruthlessly killed by Star Weapons. As soon as this report was uploaded, it immediately attracted the attention of countless people. The International News Agency also struck while the iron was hot and interviewed the families of the passengers. The scenes of them crying their heads off aroused the sympathy of countless people. A torrent of condemnation suddenly appeared on the internet, demanding that Xinghu Weapons and the Manilan government give a reasonable explanation immediately. In this way, the new Manilan government and Xinghu Weapons, which had just been off the hot search, once again made international headlines, and the popularity continued to soar. Faced with the increasingly fierce wave on the internet, Su Wei didn't want to care, but Cadman couldn't stand it. After all, his new Manilan government was established not long ago and had limited resistance to public opinion. With the guidance of those who were interested, the fire burned more and more vigorously. It was just a matter of defining the new Manilan government as a terrorist organization, and Xinghu weapons naturally won the title of the #1 executioner. Faced with Cadman's complaints, Su Wei finally took action. The incident was edited into a short film, along with the identity information, photos, and interrogation videos of the 3 terrorists, which were uploaded to Meninia's official website. There was also an aircraft inspection report for Flight MD-112, which showed that the engine failure was not an accident, but a man-made sabotage. In addition, the 3 terrorists boarded Flight MD-112 safely with weapons and bombs, which was even more incredible. The anger of netizens immediately shifted from Meninia and Xinghu weapon to MD Airlines. And the fire was even more intense. Now MD Airlines and global news agency were instantly silenced. Faced with the doubts of countless netizens, they could only remain silent. For a time, MD Airlines suffered huge losses. Who would dare to take a flight that terrorists can take at will? Do you dislike your long life? Now MD Airlines regrets it very much? Why did it follow global news agency to make a fuss? Wouldn't it be better to watch quietly? Now, all the problems have shifted to themselves. They can't wash themselves clean even if they jump into the Atlantic Ocean. While MD Airlines was in a state of panic, Su Wei, Chu Haoan, Dong Zhao and others were discussing a plan in the meeting room of Xinghu weapon. The plan was called exorcism. The target was the terrorist organization Dream Demon in Iraq. Iraq is located in the central Middle East. Thanks to the United States, it is also a war-torn country and is still in chaos. War, killing, and crime have grown in this soil, making it one of the most chaotic places in the world. There, the government is basically non-existent. Whoever has the strongest armed forces has the final say. Behind those armed organizations, there are shadows of financial groups from various countries, all of which intend to fish in troubled waters in this chaotic land and obtain the benefits they want. Camo, where the Dream Demon headquarters is located, is under the jurisdiction of the largest local armed organization, calling itself the Su Wei Army. It is said that the leader is a very domineering person. Relying on the support of the U.S. financial group behind him, he is very arrogant. After sorting out the relationship here, the answer is obvious, and it is related to the old United States. You wait, sooner or later, your octagonal building will be blown up. The terrain of Iraq is not complicated. Mostly plains. Starting from the location of Xinghu weapon, the straight line distance to Camo is more than 3,000 kilometers, passing through many countries, so this airborne route can only be abandoned. Take the water route, bypass the territories of many countries, advance from the coastline of Iraq, and then use the low-altitude flight capability of the HX-1 power armor to raid Camo. With the help of artificial intelligence, it can be guaranteed that it will not be detected by satellites and catch him off guard. So this time, Su Wei is still the leader, Chu Haoyan and Hong Daniel are the assistants, to carry out the demon-killing mission. After confirming, they went back to rest and set off early tomorrow morning. Chapter 324 Skull. Beep 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 alert, 2 unidentified transport planes have invaded Meninia's airspace and are flying towards here. Alert, 2 unidentified transport planes have invaded Meninia's airspace and are flying towards here. Alert, 2 unidentified transport planes have invaded Meninia's airspace and are flying towards here. I slept until midnight, and a shrill alarm sounded in the Xinghu weapon building. Su Wei in the lounge was the first to run to the central control room. The Xinghu main brain has used the enemy's satellite to capture the target. On the screen, 2 large transport planes painted dark gray were flying towards this side, but its flight altitude was as high as 10,000 meters, which was beyond the range of conventional air defense weapons. Old Wolf, what's wrong, Old Wolf? Chu Haoyan, Dong Zhao and other 4 people arrived one after another, and when they saw Su Wei was already there, they hurriedly asked. The one who comes is not friendly. Prepare to fight, Su Wei gave a direct order. Meninia has become independent and autonomous. Although it does not have a strong air defense capability, the government has issued a statement that any aircraft that enters without permission will be regarded as an enemy, no matter who it is. Yes, Chu Haoyan and others immediately ran to the hangar and put on HX-1 power armor. At this time, the alarm sounded like a war horn. The Xinghu soldiers who were resting in the barracks immediately got up and rushed to the hangar as soon as possible. Su Wei also jumped down from a shaft in the central control room and landed on the first floor. There was his exclusive vehicle number 01 power armor. Ding alarm, armed invasion detected. As soon as Su Wei put on the power armor, the Xinghu main brain sent a new alarm. The holographic visualization helmet projected the picture taken by the satellite. I saw that the butts of the two unidentified transport planes opened, and metal lumps jumped out one by one. Yes, they were metal lumps that could jump by themselves. The picture zoomed in, and it was a metal armor nearly 3 meters high, falling rapidly from an altitude of 10,000 meters. Oh my god, power armor. Su Wei was stunned. Although it looks a bit simple and old-fashioned, it already has the characteristics of power armor, and from the equipment on it, it can be seen that it is designed for combat. Some carried machine guns, some held Gatling guns, some held shields, and some held large battle axes. There were 200 or 300 people. It gave people a strange and varied feeling. But it must be said that this team has taken shape, with long range, output, defense, and close combat. With heavy armor, the combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. Bang bang bang. During Su Wei's observation, colorful flowers bloomed on these power armors. They were special parachutes, originally used for airdrops of heavy equipment such as tanks. Now it is very good to use them on these metal lumps. After the two transport planes were airdropped, they did not leave, but circled around, as if they were treating this place as their own backyard. Fuck. Too much. Su Wei was furious. Was he really bullying him for not having long-range air defense equipment? At this moment, he almost couldn't help running to the wasteland world to drive the Black Phoenix over, and then crushing the two small machines with one hand. However, now it's just a thought. Those unknown armors are approaching the surface, so we have to solve this problem first. With this in mind, Su Wei rushed out of the hangar and came to the large square outside. At this time, in addition to the guards on duty, more than 100 official Xinghu soldiers have all arrived and stood in a square formation in the square. The enemy is coming. Those who offend Xinghu will be killed without mercy. Su Wei said little and took the lead to rush outside. Buzz buzz buzz. The close defense guns opened fire first. The enemy has come within 3 kilometers of Xinghu's weapons. Those holding shields immediately stepped forward and blocked most of the bullets with super thick alloy shields. The remaining bullets were not enough to cause fatal damage to their armor. The others followed behind the shield soldiers, formed a sharp blade formation, and rushed towards the gate of Xinghu. Outside the battlefield, a modified armored vehicle was parked on a high ground. There was no weapon installed on its roof, but a mushroom-like device. If you look closely, you will find that the mushroom head is shaking slightly from time to time. There were more than a dozen fully armed unknown armored soldiers guarding the armored vehicle. The scene turned back to the battlefield. Seeing that the close defense cannon had little effect, Su Wei directly shut it down and rushed up with more than 100 Xinghu soldiers. At this time, everyone could see clearly that the opponent must also be powered armor, with a simple design, but full of power. A skull logo was sprayed on each armor, which looked quite similar to the Punisher. The difference was that the skull's eye sockets were painted red. Boom. In close combat, Chu Haoan, Dong Zhao and others, as soon as they came up, directly used alloy swords to chop the opponent's shield holders to the ground. The strength of the diamond level is not covered. However, the combat power of these skulls is not weak. On average, they have reached the silver level, and a small number of them are gold level. What is a headache is that these guys are fearless and will rush up to fight, even if they are seriously injured. In addition, the number of Xinghu soldiers is not dominant, and for a time, they were suppressed by this group of unknown armored soldiers. Several newly joined Xinghu soldiers were beaten to the ground by the enemy. Fortunately, the armor of HX-1 was strong enough to save the driver from death temporarily. Su Wei rushed over to rescue them, and the alloy sword in his hand knocked the besieged skulls away. Several of them were directly beheaded, and blood spurted out. The rescued Xinghu soldiers took the opportunity to stand up and raise their hands to give a high-frequency electric shock. But the skulls on the opposite side only trembled, and then rushed over like nothing happened. Obviously, the opponent's armor was specially insulated. Bang bang bang. The dragon hunter in the hands of a Xinghu soldier began to roar, which was no less powerful than the close defense cannon, and instantly knocked several skulls back. One unlucky guy was hit by the weak armor on his head and was taken away instantly. Follow suit. Many Xinghu soldiers immediately used dragon hunters to shoot. Hong Dani went even further. He knocked the man to the ground with the alloy sword in his right hand, and directly hit him in the face with the dragon hunter in his left hand. Although he was protected by armor, the face was relatively weak for visualization, and was immediately blown into a rotten watermelon, with scarlet slurry flowing out. He couldn't be deader. Boom. The machine guns on the side of the skull also opened fire, and the powerful power caused some damage to the Starlight Army. However, as long as it is not a direct hit on the vitals, the armor can withstand most of the damage and protect the safety of the driver. This is much stronger than the skull. As for the Gatling gun, it can be directly ignored. Small caliber firearms are basically ineffective against HX-1. The skull has a numerical advantage, while the Starlight Army has an equipment advantage. For a while, the two sides were inseparable. Chapter 325, Anatomy. As time went by, the advantage of the skulls was quickly wiped out. First, they did not have high-end combat power to participate in the battle. The highest was only the late gold level, not even platinum. In addition to Sui, the Xinghu army also had 4 diamond-level early-stage soldiers. It was useless to have more people. It was only a matter of time before they were killed. Secondly, the skull's armor had no flying ability, and they didn't even have an accelerator. After discovering this, the Xinghu army turned on the thrusters one by one, and dodged the opponent's attacks like a game. Third, these skulls seemed to have some brains that were not very smart. Apart from fighting and killing, they had no tactics at all. Fourth, they were really fierce, but unfortunately they were brave but not wise, and they were easily killed by kites. In summary, in less than an hour, the skulls were completely wiped out, and the 2 transport planes also fled in a hurry. The gate of Xinghu weapons was in a mess. Beep beep at this time, on Suwei's helmet, the Xinghu main brain sent another set of screenshots. On a small hill 2 kilometers away, there was a strangely shaped armored vehicle and a dozen skulls dressed in the same way. At this moment, this group of guys were evacuating towards the border of Manenia. Everyone, 12 o'clock direction, full speed forward. Suwei immediately gave orders. The Xinghu army, who had no time to clean up the battlefield, immediately followed Suwei's footsteps and charged forward. Soon, the Xinghu army crossed a distance of 2 or 3 kilometers. Although the opponent was evacuating at full speed, for the Xinghu army, the speed was like a turtle crawling. Needless to say, this small group of skulls was quickly wiped out. The strangely shaped armored vehicle was also detained. Unfortunately, the 2 black-skinned drivers inside committed suicide one step ahead of time, and no useful survivors were obtained. Suwei ordered to move everything back to the warehouse and carefully studied the power armor that suddenly appeared. Although these skulls have many criticisms, their strength is indeed not weak, causing several Xinghu army soldiers to die unfortunately. This was the biggest blow HX-1 power armor had suffered since it was equipped. Suwei was very annoyed that there were still casualties despite such advanced technology. Perhaps it was because he was too persistent in his pursuit of no injuries. In short, he was in a bad mood. At the same time, many disadvantages of Starlight weapons were exposed. Although close defense guns and small laser guns were powerful, they were only aimed at conventional arms. When facing special arms like skulls, they seemed a little powerless. Therefore, heavy weapons must be added to the defense system to attack special targets like skulls. Secondly, long-range air defense capabilities must be strengthened. Otherwise, anyone can come to harass, and it will be annoying. With these 2 problems, Suwei went to the wasteland world. Even the demon-killing plan had to be temporarily shelved. After all, Starlight weapons were as old as in modern times, so how could he take it lightly? He claimed to be away for 2 days, and also took away the peculiarly shaped armored vehicle and several skull bodies. When he arrived at the Phaeton base, Suwei rushed to the mecha hangar. Then he sent someone to invite Qin Lao from the medical department. Looking at the strange things Suwei brought, everyone was a little confused. I was attacked by these people on the way here. You all come and study it to see if you can find any clues, Suwei said calmly. Hearing that the bus was attacked, everyone started to take action. An armored vehicle and 3 power armors were quickly dismantled into pieces, and 3 strange-looking humanoid corpses were also peeled out of the armor. Pale skin, without a single hair. Protruding eyes, even in death, exuding cruelty and bloodthirstiness. The slightly collapsed nose, a bit like a bat. The most eye-catching thing is the mouth, as if it was torn from the corners of the mouth to both sides, almost extending to the roots of the ears, revealing sharp teeth, staggered and opposite, showing a hideous look. The body is sturdy, the limbs are thick, and the palms and soles of the hands and feet are beyond the proportions of ordinary people, which is more conducive to grasping and stepping. Huh? Send it to the medical department quickly, I want to dissect it. Old Qin was immediately interested in the new species. Su Wei quickly asked several soldiers to help carry the body to the medical department. The rest of Ji Tongguang, Feng Yunzi and others began to observe and analyze the dismantled items. Su Wei stood aside and watched. It took half a day to basically get it done. Old Ji, what did you find? Su Wei asked impatiently. It's better for Minister Feng to talk about it. Ji Tongguang gave up his position with an embarrassed look. After all, these things belonged to the category of weapons, and the system was also very old. In his eyes, it was just a pile of garbage. Boss, think about which one to listen to, Feng Yunzi said, pointing to the armored vehicle and the power armor. Let's talk about the power armor first. Su Wei was more interested in this. Boss, to be precise, it is not a power armor. It would be more appropriate to call it armor, Feng Yunzi corrected. Oh, why? Su Wei asked curiously. Because it has no power module, only a small number of auxiliary modules. The armor is completely supported by the wearer's biological body, so it can only be called armor, not power armor, Feng Yunzi explained. Yes, the system inside is also very old and has no intelligence at all. It can only be said to be some auxiliary small programs, Ji Tongguang added on the side. Oh. That's it. Su Wei suddenly realized that it was a fake. He felt much more balanced in his heart. It seems that the advanced advantages of HX1 still exist. Such armor has no big highlights except for its strong defense. As long as it is equipped with corresponding high-powered weapons, it can be easily killed, Feng Yunzi concluded. It's over. Su Wei was stunned. Well, it's over, Feng Yunzi nodded. Is there anything special about it? Su Wei asked unwillingly. This is really nothing special except that it is old, Feng Yunzi shook her head. Oh, Su Wei nodded. It seems that the other party has made preparations and did not leave any information. What about this? Su Wei pointed at the disassembled armored vehicle. This is interesting, Feng Yunzi suddenly said. This shocked Su Wei. In his opinion, it was just an armored vehicle with a mushroom head. Why did a top weapon armor in the wasteland show such strong interest? Boss, the car is not strange, it's just an old fuel car that has been eliminated long ago. But this thing on the car is unheard of. Feng Yunzi took Su Wei to the table and pointed to a half-sized, black, irregular stone-like object in the tray. Based on my experience, it doesn't belong to rock, metal, or any material I know. This is the device that holds it. It seems to be an electromagnetic wave generator. We tried it. Under several fixed electromagnetic bands, it can produce some kind of resonant bands. This is amazing. However, the specific function cannot be determined for the time being, Feng Yunzi explained. New things always arouse people's curiosity, which is the beginning of exploration. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.